Learn what you can do now to reduce wildfire damage later at fireadapted.org. Prepare, protect, prevail. A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council. Learn more at fireadapted.org.
The White House just announcing the president plans to meet with officials from the video game industry next week as part of his listening sessions on school safety and gun issues. Meantime, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says it's encouraging to hear the president suggest he might support changes the NRA does not.
He seemed willing and ready to do it, and even pushed Republicans to do the same.
Florida Republican Senator Marco Rubio.
I don't know of anyone who's in favor of school shootings, and I don't know of anyone who's in favor of seeing another one happen.
Urging both sides to find common ground. An activist group claiming responsibility for vandalizing a gun range billboard in Las Vegas.
The billboard on the side of I-15 said, shoot a .50 caliber, only $29. But Thursday morning, some of the words had been papered over, and it read, shoot a school kit for only $29. The activist art group In Decline, which spells its name with the N's backward, posted video of their members altering the sign during the nighttime. They issued a statement saying this protest piece is in response to America's long-standing obsession with gun culture. They blame politicians and the NRA. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
A Massachusetts man under arrest for white powder and threatening notes sent to 5 people last month, including Donald Trump Jr.
The envelopes were all mailed from Boston, including one addressed to the president's oldest son in New York.
Mr. Trump's wife opened the envelope, which contained the white powder. She was exposed to it, and as a result, she was taken to an area hospital for examination.
U.S. Attorney Andrew Lelling in Boston, that powder turned out to be cornstarch. A typed note calling Trump Jr. an awful, awful person said, I am surprised that your father lets you speak on TV. You make the family idiot, Eric, look smart.
Fox's Chris Foster. The suspect, Daniel Frisiello, is also accused of sending powder to several other people, including the office of Michigan Senator Debbie Stabenow. Again, a sell-off continues on Wall Street right now. The Dow's down more than 2%, over 500 points. Lisa Brady, Fox News Radio.
For over 55 years, Community First has served our island as a full-service financial institution. And now, we're proud to introduce the new Community First Student-Run Credit Union, open in Manilao on Route 10, Guam's first student-run financial institution, which means it's operated by college students like us, ready to serve all our members, existing and new. We're just down the road from UOG and GCC. Community First Guam Federal Credit Union, now open in Manilao. This credit union is federally insured by NCUA.
Rain. It's nature's way of cleansing the earth. Yet by the time that rainwater makes its way to your home, it may not be exactly the same as nature created it. A Connecticut water treatment system can improve the quality of the water you and your family drink and use throughout your home, so you can be sure your water is clear, clean, and fresh, just as nature intended it to be. Connecticut, for refreshing ideas on water.
American Water Tech. Smarter water, better water. Call American Water Tech, 649-2301, or email info@americanwatertech.com.
Want to win an iPhone 10? Stop into 76 Circle K locations and get a chance to be one of 3 lucky winners to take home an iPhone 10. Simply purchase $35 or more in fuel or merchandise and receive a raffle form for a chance to win one of 3 unlocked iPhone 10 phones. Comes with a 1-year contract. Conditions apply. Visit stores or 76circlekguam.com for all rules, disclaimers, and conditions. Circle K. Take it easy.
At Micronesia Renewable Energy, values matter. So all of their solar energy systems come with guarantees and the most value. No shortcuts, all quality. It's giving you that solar energy system at the best price. It's using highly efficient solar panels with typhoon-proven racking, built by highly skilled local technicians, so your system performs and saves you money. It's total peace of mind all the time. Not all solar companies are created equal. For experienced quality solar, it's MRE. Call 632-2613. MRE, the smarter choice.
Special things only come around once a year, and it's time for fish fans to celebrate the return of Wendy's Cod Filet Sandwich. Wendy's uses the gold standard for fried fish, wild-caught Northern Pacific cod, breaded with panko crumbs to a light crisp. Add a new creamy dill tartar sauce and crisp pickles, and you've got the fish sandwich many say is the best of the bunch. Get yours today at Wendy's, located in Tamuning, Veragata, Agana, Dededo, and Naval Base. Wendy's Cod Filet. Now that's better.
Half a day and good morning. Hafaday and good morning, Guam. News time here at The Point is 8 minutes past 6 a.m. I'm Kevin Kerrigan, and here's a look now at some of the top stories from the Guam Daily Post. A 32-hour work week for GovGuam employees will not begin next Tuesday, despite Governor Calvo's executive order to implement one. The cost-cutting plan to roll back hours would have reduced GovGuam payroll by about 20%, but it was suspended on the advice of Attorney General Elizabeth Barrett Anderson, who advised that the governor's furlough plan is invalid because it does not comply with GovGuam's personnel rules. These personnel rules state that employees must be notified at least 90 days ahead of a reduced work week or any other type of furlough. In response, the governor's office yesterday said the furlough plan is being amended. Adelup acknowledged that the governor and his advisors were aware of the furlough notification process, but went ahead with the executive order anyway because of the current cash crisis, which threatens payless paydays and severe restrictions on government services. The Guam Department of Education also coming to the same conclusion as the Attorney General about the planned furlough, even before the AG announced her decision. The Guam Education Board had already announced that they would not implement a 32-hour work week as ordered by the governor, citing a 2003 budget law that Guam DOE believes supersedes the 90-day personnel rule referred to by the AG. That 2000 budget law requires a 30-day notice period for any rollback of work hours or other type of furlough. Meanwhile, over at the legislature, the conversation has now turned to a sales tax following the defeat Wednesday of the governor's proposed increase to the business privilege tax. 3 bills, each proposing a 2% sales tax, have come to the floor. However, the sales tax is not the final answer to the current fiscal crisis, says Majority Leader Tom Atta. He points out that a sales tax is an entirely new levy for Guam. It'll require at least 30 days to formulate the rules and regulations to govern it. The first proceeds wouldn't be available until May, and no one is sure just how much money it would raise. The need right now, said Atta, is an immediate cash infusion, and remarkably, he said, a temporary increase to the business privilege tax is still being considered by some. We'll have more news after this.
How do you turn every day into cash back? With the Bank of Guam Visa credit card, cash back just got better. Get 1.5% cash back every month with every purchase. Every pick-me-up, every filler-up, every Sunday dinner, every four-wheel spinner. Whatever comes to mind, even every stroll in the sweet sunshine. Everything your heart desires turns into 1.5% cash back every month. The Bank of Guam Visa credit card, the everyday card. Apply today. Call, click, or visit. Terms and conditions apply. Bank of Guam, member FDIC.
Security Title is honored to join in sponsoring Ray Gibson on The Point. Buenas and Hafaday, Guau si Claire Menglotnya of Malolo, and this is where I start my day, listening to the voices of our community and sharing thoughts about issues that affect all of us. It all boils down to our people and our land. Protehi itanotmu, protect your land. When it comes to your family land, remember to call the professionals at Security Title, just like you call Ray Gibson in the morning.
News time here at The Point is 11 minutes past 6 a.m. this Friday morning. The attorney for a man who shot his girlfriend in the neck after an argument over burnt rice said yesterday that his client and the government could not agree on terms to avoid a second trial. Judge Michael Bordallo yesterday set a pretrial conference for Clifford San Nicolas on March 22nd after San Nicolas's attorney, John Terlahi, told the court that no agreement on a plea deal could be reached. The Guam Supreme Court overturned San Nicolas's murder conviction, ruling that the lower court failed to ensure jurors did not have access to media reports about the case. In January 2013, San Nicolas got into an argument with his girlfriend, Valine Borja, and shot her in the neck. Borja was paralyzed from the neck down and died a year later. The 4 Department of Corrections officers notified of their temporary suspensions following the murder of Ernst Manson aren't planning to immediately appeal the proposed adverse action. The decision to defer the appeals came after a closed-door meeting between the officers and DOC Director Tony Lamarena, who's told the media that he'll let the officers know when their suspensions will take effect. GFT Union Rep Robert Koss said the officers told him they want the media attention to die down before pursuing an appeal, but he has reservations because the law requires that there be a date certain set. Manson was found dead in his cell in December. He'd been beaten to death. 7 fellow detainees have been charged with his murder. For these stories and more, log on to postguam.com or pick up a copy of today's Guam Daily Post. Ray's here now with the weather.
Well, let's see what it looks like. The next few days look pretty dry with only isolated light showers into next week. Trade winds likely be breezy at times Sunday and Monday. Days will be partly cloudy. Slight chance of showers. Easterly winds up to about 20 miles an hour. Expect highs around 88 degrees. Nights partly cloudy with a slight chance of showers. East winds up to about 20 miles an hour and overnight lows of about 76 degrees. There is still time for you to get outside and see the incredible moon that they put up last night.
Wasn't that something?
Oh, yeah. How do you turn that thing off? I couldn't sleep. There's the moonlight beaming into the room, and but I tell you what, coming into town this morning, from a couple of the vistas, looking at the moonlight over the water in East again, it's just absolutely terrific here. So there is still time. The sun won't be up until 6:36. Sunset tonight to kick off the weekend at 6:29. And what is it, 11.52 daylight hours. I thought that was going to be a blurb talking about daylight savings times going back in on, what is it, the 11th or something like that? I don't know why we bother doing that. Thankfully, we don't here, but everywhere else in God's green earth, they seem to be infatuated with the notion of being able to save an hour of daylight. Yeah, right. 6:14 in the morning. That's news and weather together right here on The Point. Portions of the program brought to you by King's Restaurant, serving Guam favorites to families for over 40 years. King's Restaurant, always open and always local.
Water. It covers nearly 3/4 of our Earth. From vast oceans to millions of rivers and streams, we're all concerned with protecting our world's water. But none is more important than the water you and your family drink and use throughout your home. A Connecticut water treatment system can improve your water so that your family is using the best water in the world. Connecticut, for refreshing ideas on water.
American Water Tech. Smarter water. Better water. Call American Water Tech at 649-2301 or email info@americanwatertech.com. Hey, Subway's got your fresh choices for Lent. Sink your teeth into the classic tuna or indulge in the mouthwatering greatness of their seafood sensation. Or try the new tasty Veggie Max, a delicious vegetarian patty free of artificial colors and artificial flavors. Visit any of their convenient locations today at Subway. Fresh. It's what they do.
When the power goes out on Guam, the little things can become surprisingly big. Small comforts are often the things we miss most during a power outage. That is why Kohler built the fastest responding generator sets in the industry. Whether you are at home or away, a residential Kohler generator will enable you and your family to live life without interruption. Kohler gas, LPG, and diesel power systems are available from Morrico Equipment LLC on Epal Road. Call 649-1946. That's 649-1946.
We have those moments in our lives that happen unpredictably. The unexpected instances that we did not really need. Now you can count on us to stay well, pa-pa-da, to live well, pa-pa-da, to stay well, making sure you stay well. Oh, I'll lift you up when times are low. I'll see how far we'll go, and stay well.
Stay Well Insurance. See how far we'll go.
The Ray Gibson Show. Morning talk that matters. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
I actually have to be in the chair for the show to start. Is that the way? That's the rule.
Pretty much how it
Okay.
goes.
Well, I don't know how we're going to do this
You can
next
shout
week.
from outside, you know.
Next week, is it Thursday? Whatever the 7th is, the first day of the industry forum.
Wednesday.
Is it Wednesday? Okay. So Wednesday. Wednesday. One fewer days than I thought I did. I had to spend a little bit more time looking at the calendar, I suppose. That day, we will attempt. And I don't want to put any undue pressure on anybody because this could either be, crowning moment or unmitigated disaster, right? But we're going to attempt to broadcast live from the Dusitani
A remote.
A live broadcast from the Dusitani for the first 4 hours of the day, for the first 4 hours of the industry forum down there. And so I took some equipment down there, and I tested it. And I told them where I wanted the wet bar and the masseuse and all of those things. And they said, is there anything else you want? And I gave them a list, but I won't tell you what the list is because then you guys will want to come down and hang out with me. But you should be able to bring the audio over there. And if I hold my nose right, the video. Otherwise, we'll just have the logo on the screen for about 4 hours for everybody that watches on the show. But I think it's going to be an interesting morning, an interesting couple of days of activity with this industry forum. So I thought it might be a good idea for us to get down there and talk to some of the movers and the shakers and the headline makers that no doubt are going to be there. And there hopefully will be a lot of people from the government there, because that looks like it's going to be the only good thing that's going to be happening on Guam in the next couple of years is watching some of this construction dough come in.
Any seats left down there?
I heard that they are moving fast, that the seats are going fast, and I want to say that the number that I heard the last time was pretty close to packed. Even for the Dusit, for the room that they've got at the Dusit. So if you have been toying with the idea, and I know it's a couple of bucks, but it's I think going to be worth it just based on the nature of the people that are going to be down there. And I'm sorry if I'm spending a little bit too much time on the industry forum as we do the beginning of the program. I just didn't want to start the day again with conversation about the whole rigmarole, as they say. Of this whole the government of Guam doesn't have any money, and there was going to be furloughs, and the Attorney General got into the mix of this. And when I was a little boy at St. Anthony School, I was very happy that I wasn't the tallest kid, but I was among some of the taller kids. And the reason why I enjoyed that was because when I played basketball with some of these guys, when they'd go up to shoot, I was bigger than them, so I could stuff that ball. That's not going in the basket. That's my ball. Welcome to my house with my Chuck Taylor Converse All-Star rubber shoes, because they didn't have nice tennis shoes back then. This is 70s. We didn't have. You remember that we didn't have nice shoes until like 79, 80, and then they were the ones with the Velcro lace-ups. You remember that?
Right,
That's so cool. Sorry, can I?
You don't have to worry about bending over and retying those shoes anymore.
Let me just Velcro this again. So. I enjoyed the art of stuffing. You know, it's like a block on volleyball, right? And so that's what happened when the Attorney General got the request. Say, could you look this thing over with this furlough, with this 32-hour work week that the governor is proposing? And I won't read you the whole thing. She could have made it shorter.
Slam dunk.
Yeah. Stuff. Pow in your face. The operative words here: Guam law permits the governor to implement employee furloughs, provided employees are protected under furlough procedures and notice requirements. The governor may implement a furlough program by executive order across the government of Guam, provided the due process and other procedural requirements of Appendix H of the DOA personnel rules and regulations are complied with. Did they not have a copy of Appendix H in the governor's office? We didn't have that?
They did. They said they knew, but the fiscal crisis is too severe. They had to act.
No. So okay, this is my view. Jaundiced though it may be at 6:20 in the morning, my view is, in order to instill as much panic as possible, they went and started talking about 32-hour work week, knowing full well, as you say, if they had a copy of Appendix H, knowing full well that it didn't apply.
So it was all designed to pressure those lawmakers.
It's the same nonsense as telling people that we're going to shut down.
Politics as usual.
Yeah, we're going to shut down fire stations. No, we're not. We have 32-hour work week. No, we're not. No, it's not going to happen. Get Senator Atta, and I tell you what, it was the high moment of the day yesterday. I heard a piece of audio from him asking the question, saying, it's not like we can do this furlough here, so what's the point of shutting down the fire stations? What are you going to say? Power bill? Water bill? What kind of mass savings are we going to get? So obviously, the whole thing was concocted as a means to incite as much panic and hand-wringing as possible among the low-information voters out there to get to the legislature to pass Eddie's bill. That's the thing.
We still have some doubts over at the legislature now.
Clearly.
All of these worries about money, does that mean that there will no longer be free ice cream served at the legislative sessions?
I think they're down to just regular flat tap water at the legislature. That's what they're going to be. But they still got a guy. They still got a guy that walks around and makes sure that everybody's got a full glass of water over at the legislature. So that's I think where we get to start the conversation. And obviously we're probably not going to stay there the whole time. If you were paying attention yesterday, then you probably know what all went on, and you also probably know that they ain't going to be doing much at the legislature today at 10 o'clock. My guess is they're going to get in at 10 o'clock and say, okay, we got another bill that we need to consider, and the public hearing for that is going to be, and then it'll be next week.
Yeah, the public hearing on two of the tax bills is next Thursday.
Right.
The governor's 5-S sales tax bill will be heard next Friday, a day later.
Why didn't they? I wonder why they don't do them all together. It had to do with the timing of the submission, right?
Right, and the midnight session actually occurred on Thursday, not Wednesday night.
All right, so that's why it gets pushed over to one side, and so we'll have a couple of public hearings on. And I wonder how well attended that they're going to be. I wonder who's going to be showing up for these. If we know that there's going to be a third day on the hybrid legislation, for all intents and purposes, they are the same bill. They're all sales tax bills.
Right.
One is a little bit more developed than the other. That is the Estevez bill. And then you've got the simple 3-page that Joe S. and Augustin put out there. And then there's the third, which is Joe S.'s with another section that includes the amendments from the prior conversations.
Yeah, from the governor's original BPT tax bill.
Right. From the one that failed.
Right.
Okay, so that's where we get to. So what is it they're going to talk about today then? I don't get it. Why do they need to get together? Legislative Guahan will resume the special session today, 10 a.m. Are they going to start calling in people to talk about the pros and cons of the sales tax?
Well, the sales tax won't be implemented for some time. It's not the solution that will provide the immediate cash infusion they say they need.
That's a story that we're beginning to hear out of these guys. Let me give you the telephone number and go through a couple of program things here. 888-8255 is the phone number. Again, that is 888-8255. I will say it a lot. Number one, for me to develop the habit of saying the phone number a lot, I just kind of presume that if I say it once, everybody's heard it. But I know that that's not the case. And the other one is to develop that new habit in you, to get involved, to get up to where we are here in some of the conversation. So 888-8255. I'm not begging for calls. Plenty enough to talk about just between us. But if I hit on a point that you think might need to be developed and hashed out a little bit more, certainly that's one way to do it. If you're a little bit less involved in the radio or don't want anybody to hear your voice, try this. Use the email thing. You can find me on the email at raygibsonshow@gmail.com. Very, very easy way to get a hold of me that way. Or if you are watching on the feed, and I haven't checked this yet to see if there's anybody that's chimed in. You are always welcome to go to facebook.com, do a search for thepoint.gu. And you should be able to get to the Facebook page where you will find images and videos. We got videos. Everything that we do here is taped, and then the tape goes and becomes a video on demand later. But while it's live, you are very, very able to communicate with me. Every once in a while, I'll take a look at it and just see what people are talking about for the thing. All right, so that's what's happening now, and they're there already.
We are live before a taped studio audience.
Brad says it's the great hoax of 2018. Buddy Brian listening up in Vancouver, Washington. Matt Matt's down in Malaysia. He's got the radio. Likes to keep track of what's happening here on Guam. Your comments are welcome one way or the other. It helps guide some of the conversation, if for no other reason, provides me with entertainment. People ask me, Ray, why do you do it? Why do you get up early in the morning and stay up late and read all of these submissions and reports and all of that? It's for my entertainment. You don't know how much I enjoy being in the studio doing this on a regular basis. All right, 6:27 in the morning. Yesterday, we spent a little bit of time talking about the internet sales tax because to me, it is the most grinding thing about the conversation. I want it to be a part of a separate conversation. I think we'll have the sales tax and then split up the internet sales tax and make that part of its own legislation. Because I think there's a lot of people out there that get the idea, sales tax, and will get out from under the Byzantine gross receipts taxes and the hidden sales tax that's in there. You know, we had dinner at Chili's last night. And my daughter is studying in school about percentages, and one of the things that they're using at her school to teach her about percentages is how to calculate a sales tax if she was a business person, and so she's used to seeing these pretend receipts in school with this is how much the merchandise cost, and if the sales tax is 4%. How much would the sales tax be? And so she says, she looks at the receipt after the guy hands it over. She looks and says, Daddy, how much is the sales tax on this? I said, it's already been calculated. It's in the price of the meal. And her eyes glazed right over. It was magical to watch. Her eyes glazed over, and she reached for a telephone and just started chatting with her friends. Just went right back to what she was doing before. Didn't want to even know about this. And so I finally tried to explain to her. I said, the way we do it here is we put the sales tax, we integrate that with the price, and we don't show that to the customer. And she asked the very astute questions. How do we know that it's 4% of what the meal is? I said, well, we got to trust the guys over at Chili's. I do. I trust them with the cooking, so I'm sure I can trust them with this. And she said, well, I still want the practice, so I had her figure out what the tip was going to end up being. She's not any good at math, so it's very good. I'm kidding. She's all right at math. She's got the same math skills as her old man does. But she was a little bit generous with the folks over at Chili's last night. Well, and you should be as well. Happy to go by there and see what it is that I can talk about from them, seeing as how they are customers of the program at all. 6:30 in the morning on the Ray Gibson Show on The Point, and it is time for our first look at headlines from the Guam Daily Post. This is Kevin Kerrigan.
Half a day and good morning, Guam. Here's a look at some of the headlines from the Guam Daily Post. The governor's planned 32-hour work week aimed at reducing payroll costs by 20% has been suspended. Attorney General Elizabeth Barrett Anderson yesterday advising the administrations that the furlough plan, which was to take effect on Tuesday, is invalid because it does not follow long-standing personnel rules which require all affected employees to be notified at least 90 days ahead of time. Adelup said the furlough plan is now being amended, the governor's office acknowledging that they knew of the notification process but went ahead with the furlough executive order anyway because of the government's dire cash situation. The Guam Department of Education also came to the same conclusion as the Attorney General about that planned furlough. And even before the AG announced her opinion, the Guam Education Board announced they would not implement a 32-hour work week as ordered by the governor, citing a 2003 budget law that Guam DOE believes supersedes the 90-day personnel rule referred to by the Attorney General. The attorney for a man who shot his girlfriend in the neck after an argument over burnt rice said yesterday that his client and the government could not agree on terms to avoid a second trial. Judge Michael Bordallo yesterday set a pre-trial conference date for Clifford San Nicolas on March 22nd after San Nicolas's attorney John Terlahi told the court that no agreement on a plea deal could be reached. The Guam Supreme Court overturned San Nicolas's murder conviction, ruling that the lower court had failed to ensure that jurors did not have access to media reports about the case. In January 2013, San Nicolas got into an argument with his girlfriend, Valine Borja, shot her in the neck. Borja was paralyzed from the neck down and died a year later. Today marks day one of the trial of Raymond Martinez and Juanita Moser, the couple arrested in June 2015 and charged with conspiring to distribute methamphetamine on island. Martinez and Moser were allegedly found in possession of 8 pounds of crystal meth in California, intended to be shipped to Guam during a sting operation involving a former Guam customs officer, Henry Alvendia, who was cooperating with the federal government. The defense, however, counters that there were serious flaws with the sting operation that took place in California and with the government's use of Alvendia as a cooperating witness. Opening statements are slated to be heard today in the district court. For these stories and more, log on to postguam.com or pick up a copy of today's Guam Daily Post.
Thanks, Kevin. iConnect time is 6:33 in the morning. I got to check that. Connect longer for less with iConnect's push-to-talk mobile and internet plans.
For more than 40 years, we've managed our island's most precious resource, your health. Take Care's benefit plans allow members access to more than 120 medical providers, 40 dental providers, and 18 pharmacies in the region. Take Care's health plans ensure members in Palau, Saipan, and Guam receive the care they deserve. Our programs and wellness classes have proven results for our valued members, and our commitment to your health never been stronger. Take Care. Our island, your health plan.
Relax, enjoy, and be greeted by the spectacular view of Hagåtña Bay when you visit the point at the Sheraton Laguna Guam. Gaze into the beautiful sunset as you unwind to the music of Philip Garcia and Natasha on Wednesdays, Mama Shar and Nina on Thursdays, Philip Garcia and Louise Munia on Fridays, and Jack Larimer on Saturdays. Open daily from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Happy hour from 5 to 8 p.m. with all cocktail drinks for $7. Receive a discount when you present your SPG card. Call Peter Yaban at 646-2222 for reservations at the point at the Sheraton Laguna Guam Resort.
Yeah, just taking a look to see if there's any traffic worth reporting right now. It doesn't appear to be, but maybe that's just because I got to wake up the gizmo, and I'll work on that. Must be Friday morning. Anyway, welcome to the program. 888-8255 is the telephone number if there's something you want to talk about, and if there's something that you don't want to talk about, just keep it to yourself. Otherwise, we've got our own lineup of interesting topics that we've put together for you here today. As Brad says, the great hoax of 2018. I'm going to do a 32-hour work week. The Attorney General's office says not so fast. Legislature going to get together at 10 o'clock and figure out how they're going to move forward from where they are, the continuation of the tax. I gotten started talking about taking the sales tax on internet purchases and moving it to its own conversation. And I think I like that idea. The more I roll over that in my head, the more I think that might be a good idea, because I think there's a lot of people that are okay with the sales tax idea in general. But when we start talking about, wait a second, you want to put a tax on items that I'm buying from the United States, from anywhere in the world via the internet, 6%, really, right there, bang off the top. I don't know about that. I don't know. Number one, I think it's a little bit high. I think it feels a little punitive the way that those numbers are put out there. And is it going to bring in all of that money? Or is it, as some people are concerned, going to absolutely kill the ability for people on Guam to be able to order anything online? Of course, I did get the interesting note from a friend said, well, what if I order it on the phone? What if it's not an internet purchase? What if I called the guy at his business and said, send me this thing? Is it all right? Or will that still fall under the internet sales tax deal? Hold on, I got to write somebody's name here. Hope I get this right, because I'm putting it on a television and everything. I just put B-R-A-D. All right, well, maybe I won't do that at all. My very close, very dear personal friend, from Saipan, which is in the CNMI. Some of you might know Brad Rizala. Brad?
Buenas and half a day, Ray.
Buenas and half a day to you, buddy. How you doing?
All right. Hey, anytime I get to talk to the most trusted man in Guam, it's a good day.
That's right. Kevin is here. Kevin from the Guam Daily Post is here.
How are you, Brad?
Buenas, how are you?
Good, good.
So you guys worked together at some point or another back in the day, didn't you?
We did.
Was he any good? Brad, was this guy a good boss?
Fantastic.
My God, he's a leader, both spiritually and mentally.
Oh, please. Lay it on thick.
Yeah. So, see, it's too late to save your shoes, but there's still time if you stand on something tall to save your watch. Hey, Brad, the reason why I called, it's always nice talking with you, and I'd kind of been looking for an excuse to do it anyway, but the real impetus for this came from a story that the Guam Daily Post was covering yesterday about your house, getting together and finding some dough to increase some of the salaries, I guess, over at the governor's office and restore an annuity out there.
Yeah, correct. And it's not just the governor's office. It was for a lot of different salary positions and all that, but definitely at the governor's office. And it all comes through extra money from the BGRT that's brought in through the casino.
So while we are down here, this is the point. It's amazing what 120 miles the difference between here and there. So while down here we are in the midst of the throes of this fiscal crisis that we've got with the government of Guam and the big fights between the governor and the legislature down here, your legislative body is actually looking to find ways to put some more money in the governor's pocket.
Well, we're in a unique situation. Well, not unique, but a rare situation where everybody's kind of operating on the same page right now for the most part. The GOP is the party that's got the governor is with the GOP, and so is the majority in our House and in our Senate. We've got that bicameral legislature here, and so they're able to put forth a lot of initiatives. The governor's able to say, "Hey, this is what I want. You guys, you go out and get it for me." And they put it together and make it happen.
But you've got the money to support it.
It's nice to have.
But okay, well let me instead of making that sound like a statement, let me try it this way. But you have the money to support it?
Well, and that's always the big key, right? So a lot of it that they're passing all that stuff on is based on the money that's coming in through the casino and through the extra money, and so that's where we're able to get that extra money apparently. But now the folks in the minority of the House are saying that we might not have it. We might not have identified where that funding source is. And
tell them to shut up. Just say, hey, shut up.
Yeah.
Don't burn me down with your jive talking, man.
No, I mean, that's it. And saying that, we may be acting prematurely. Let's find out what we really have here. Let's identify these funding sources and go for it that way.
Wow.
And so that's the conversation piece. I mean, the 80% increase for our legislators, alone was a cause for alarm among some of the current legislators. But they're in the minority, and they're not winning that battle.
Wow. Well, it's hard. It's hard to take that position, as the dollar bills go floating by. I also assume. And knowing what I know about politics in this region, maybe it's a bad assumption. Is any of this windfall positively impacting the people of the CNMI? Are the smiles happier and brighter because of all of this additional dough floating around?
Well, yes, and it's really interesting to see. And it didn't start like that first day, but little by little. So let's take Imperial Pacific. Everybody knows Best Sunshine is that brand, and Imperial Pacific. Before they really even had anything going here, they started that CSR program, that community social responsibility. And they started hiring lots and lots of people to go out and do things in the villages, doing little cleanups and all that. Now, that's nice, but the people that they hired weren't getting hired as minimum wage. Like they might be able to get in a different hotel in a different position or something.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, they got more than minimum wage, and they got uniforms that they would go to work with. So not only are they branding their company out there in the community, but they're also feeling good about themselves. So they're going out and they're getting things done in their community. They feel like they have a real part of it, and they're making real money. So what that has done directly has taken a lot of people and a lot of families off the rolls from the nutrition assistance program. That's also had I spoke with the the secretary of DCCA, that's Department of Community and Cultural Affairs, and he said that our NAP rolls have gone down and that our suicide rate has gone down as a result that he believes is directly tied to people having more money and being able to support themselves. It's more of a positive thing.
Yeah.
If you talk to our business community, you could tell instantly if you drove around the streets 10 years ago and you drive around today, everybody seems like they've got a new vehicle. There's lots of new vehicles. Our new car sales have got to be through the roof. I haven't seen the numbers for them, but I am confident that that's the case because people just have money. In fact, I spoke with Doug Brennan. He's the general manager over at AK Toyota here, and he said that it's nice to have a new car market again.
Yeah. Wait a second. Kevin wants to know what kind of car you got. Or no, wait, I'll ask it this way. What kind of car did Mrs. Rizala got?
Mrs. Rizala has an SUV. She's got a CX-5. I've got a Tacoma.
But your gas prices, I'm looking for something to make me feel good here. But your gas prices are still higher than Guam, right?
Yeah, they probably always will be.
Well, see, we're doing much better. We're doing much better down here. It happens every once in a while where sometimes the tides seemingly don't seem to favor both of us at the same time. And I'm delighted that things are moving a little bit more heavily into the black for the CNMI. The ideas here, the last time I was there were places where I would shop where they wouldn't turn on the lights or the air conditioning until they were pretty sure you were going to buy something.
Hey, I've been there. But speaking of the tides moving in the same direction, the government cooperation between the CNMI and Gov Guam, I don't think that in my 15 years I've ever seen this kind of synergy, and nobody uses that word anymore. But, you see like Will Castro, I'll put in a plug for him because he spent so much time here and he's doing so much putting in so much energy for making this happen there. There is a real coordinated conversation between the folks here and the folks in Guam, and it's kind of exciting to see the bridges that are being built between the cultures. We have our little rivalries in sports and maybe a little jealousies, like maybe we have something that you guys don't have, but mostly you guys have all this stuff that we don't have. But right now,
hey, we're gonna have Payless Paydays pretty soon.
hey, we've been there.
I know you have.
We were there first.
I wonder, Brad Rizala up in CNMI, a journalist, and I don't know. I've never known him not to have a job, and there was actually a time, and I'll tell everybody, there was actually a time where Brad was asking maybe if there were opportunities here, and I convinced him, I hope, positively to stay right where you are because I knew the fortunes would eventually change, and I'm glad to hear that you have been able to ride some of those king tides.
Well, I've been lucky. We have a great community. I've been lucky because I got to start from the bottom out here and kind of work my way up, get to know people instead of just have a position. And I've been very fortunate. The community's always taken care of me, and now that I've got a family out here, and I just couldn't think of a better place than to raise our kids and to where it's not just living here in just a little town or something, get to bring them up with our culture out here, and boy, it's just the best. I love it. As I'm talking to you right now, I'm sitting here out at the fishing base. You've been to Saipan a ton of times.
Yeah.
I'm looking at some of our local fishermen right now. They're just setting their boats out to go and see if they can to get some catch and everything. And you're going to be able to buy tuna by this afternoon for like $2 a pound. I mean, this is where I live. This is the best.
Well, among my favorite things is down in Susupi on Sundays when they have the little farmers market at the park. God, I love that.
Saturday, it's Sabalu Market.
There it is, Saturday. The days get to me when I'm down there. It's because I spend too many nights over at Oleai Beach Bar.
Well, they definitely have. They rehydrate you 12 ounces.
Are they just for me, just because I'm curious, because that is one of my favorite watering holes up there. Are they still open? Same management? Because it's one of those places where they'd close every 5 or 6 months, and they'd switch owners or something, and they'd open, and they just weird cycle that they had there.
It's really good. They closed years ago, and then under new management now, they've been open. I think probably about 6 years, and going great. It's still an excellent place. There was a big meeting there last night for our local dive community, and there's a lot of new places you got to come here and check out.
Can I get on an airplane? That was one of the things that stopped me from heading up there in the recent past. Was there were all these problems with the 1 or 2 prop jobs that they had flying up there. But yeah, I hear the planes take off a little bit more often. So is there still reliable transportation up there? Is it inexpensive for me to fly up there?
Well, I can tell you as a seasoned propeller setter, that we do have plenty of flights now. And it's interesting. So the big issues were with one of the carriers, the only major U.S. carrier that services the Guam to Saipan route. We have a couple of different airlines that do it. You've got Star Marianas that flies the Navajos, and then you've got the Cape Air, which is a United Express,
right,
operating as United Express. And I was in Guam on Monday, just a real quick trip. And I was surprised at they totally redid the plane. It's not a brand new plane, unless they wish to correct me. I took a picture of the tail number. I didn't look it up yet. But the whole inside of the plane is remodeled. So the seats are different. The panels on the side are different. The overhead baggage is different. There's an additional storage place up in the front. It's almost like if you didn't know any better, it would be like a brand new plane. And
that's nice.
The other.
Because I'm trying to be observant when I get on those planes, because they always sit me where the propeller is, and I have this weird thought that one of these days the Jesus bolt is going to come off and it's going to slice right through the craft. I know it'll never happen, but I just don't like being that close to it.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, they have them on jets too. They're just all
covered up. Hey, while we're talking about airlines, Delta is pulling out of that route. What's the scuttlebutt in town about that? Is everybody freaking out, or are you going to be all right?
Well, it's disappointing because we've had an interesting past. We started off with Air Mike and Continental, and that used to be our go-to. And then when they started to dial back services, then Delta stepped up and started really being in there. And so, like myself, even I switched over to like a credit card with that Sky Miles so that I could accumulate and fly with them as a reliable carrier. Now, with them leaving, or the prospect of them leaving, because our local government's still trying to make a pitch to keep them here. It's definitely got people asking, how are we going to get around? Are we just going to have to go through Guam with United, or are we going to have to venture elsewhere, like taking some of these low-cost carriers to Seoul and using Seoul as our launch pad, which I've done, and it's excellent. It's the round trip to you can get round trip to Seoul for as low as $50 each way plus the taxes and fees.
What?
So you can get less than $200. You can get to Korea.
What airline?
We've got Jeju Airline. I know because my wife just booked tickets for us last night. So we've got.
Well, it's not a bad airport. I mean, I'm told the accommodations in Korea are very, very good for transit passengers.
Absolutely, it is. And so what you could do, you can also overnight. You don't need to have a visa to do it. You just need to have a valid passport with more than 6 months left on it. And you can go and you can spend the night in Seoul or right there near the airport. And then use that as a launch pad for your next leg.
Interesting.
Also, by the way, there's a lot of stuff to do in Guam. We've also got the flights to Hong Kong direct out of here, which are also very inexpensive, less than $300. So for less than or the same as going to Guam, you can go to Hong Kong. So it's not a bad deal.
No. As long as they keep flying and putting butts in chairs over at the casino, I guess that's a good thing. One of the conversations that we had here, and I was actually thinking about you. We were talking about sales tax on internet purchases here. Which is part of the, this is going to be one of the things that saves the government of Guam from imminent ruin. and devastation. So somebody told me that up in the NMI, the way it works is you go to the post office and you get the parcel from Amazon or wherever it is that you ordered stuff, and there's guys from customs that will wait for you, inspect it, and apply a duty to some of those internet purchased items. Is that a fact?
Yes, but not for your personal items. That is for if you have a business. If you have a business license that's registered with the Department of the Treasury, then you will have to check in. They'll check your tag. They'll look at to find out what it is and what it's ordered for. Is it to you or to your business? And if it's to your business, then you have to pay for it.
All right, okay. But if we're just talking about got a good price on socks and underwear from Amazon, they're not going to nick my credit card for that.
Absolutely not. I just received a bunch of stuff, like a couple of pairs of running shoes here yesterday. And it sounds like I'm buying a lot of stuff now that I'm talking to you more.
Yeah, going on trips and getting shoes. As I said, friends, hey, look, there's happy days up in CNMI. I'm not kidding. These guys with the listen. I remember one of my first conversations with Brad about the idea of these casinos was when they paid everybody's power bill.
Yes.
Yes, you remember that? How big a deal that was. Hey, listen, for any family that I can think of, if somebody came along and took me off the hook for a month's worth of power, that would set me up ahead for all kinds of bill paying that I needed to get to, or maybe even making a couple of luxury purchases down the road here. That's not a small amount of money for Saipan.
No, and then there was a follow-up as well. So once there was some excess in that, and some people had moved off island, or some people hadn't used all their credit within the time allotted. So all that got put back into a same pot with the same names and redistributed. So then after you got your initial amount of, I think it was like $630 or so, we ended up getting a second distribution of about $130. It's an estimate. I think it was 128 and change.
I wonder when we will start to see, because there's a lot of trucks and cars rolling around here, and our area code is 671, but there's still a lot of cars that you see that are 670. Saipanese kids that came out here when the times were bad. Is it time for them to go home?
When they're ready for it. One thing that you've got going on right now, it seems like we've got a lot of eggs, but they seem to be in a very limited basket. But you've got some advantages in Guam. You've got several. One of them is that your finances are so diversified, so that you're not tied. If you lose one thing, you've still got some legs. Right now we're very tied to to that China-Russia visa waiver program.
Yeah.
If that were to go away, we would be hurting. There was a story in today's Marianas Variety that was sent out of our U.S. Congressman office, Gregorio Khalili Sablan, where he said that the current administration is looking at possibly canceling that program. Now, if that were to happen, it would be devastating. So if our folks want to come back, this is a good time for them to come back and help support our community and all that. But if that goes away, very quickly, we would find ourselves in a tough spot.
Wow. I didn't realize that there was any jeopardy on that. Around here, we just stopped looking at the China-Russia visa waiver program. It's easy enough to get a visa coming out of China to come to this part of the world, and they're good for 10 years. So we figured that was going to be the end of that story. 6:55 in the morning, and a note here from some friends down here. Glad somebody without an agenda and trusted is speaking about the casino. I see I see this also when going to Saipan. The casino is doing great things for everybody. Brad, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. When you get down to Guam again, come on by here and say hello. Show you around the radio station, and you can show me pictures of your beautiful girls.
Boy and a girl, but that's okay. Could you tell me where you guys are? Where is your studio location?
I have no idea. It changes. It moves every day.
All right, I'll find you guys.
It's right across from DPW. It's next to the iConnect headquarters.
Okay. Excellent.
All right, man. I'll see you pretty soon.
All right, take care.
The amazing Brad Rizala, ladies and gentlemen, kind of our far-flung correspondent from up in the CNMI, and it looks like it's changing for the good. It looks like they've got a couple of things going for them.
They're definitely rolling in dough up there. Did he say that lawmakers are giving themselves a raise? Is that something he mentioned?
Well, okay, so it's a little bit clearer to me now. The Republican-controlled House is sending paperwork to the Republican-controlled Senate that will provide some additional dough, revenue, and annuities to the Republican governor and the governor's staff. So that's the way it works up there. See that's what you need to do, Eddie. That's what you needed to do. You need to get more Republicans over at the legislature instead of the handful of guys that you've got right now.
How long is that going to last? You know,
FBI
is fully staffed now.
Isn't that the? Yeah, but still, you know, I mean, we talked about this last week. You know, we had an FBI guy talk to the Rotary Club or whoever, and it's always nice to get these guys out here. But even personally, when you talk to them and you say, hey, okay, well, the microphones are off here, buddy. You got any active cases going on? You got anything happening with that casino out there?
Comment.
We can neither confirm nor deny the So I don't know whether there is or there isn't. But when was thinking about that? When was the last time that you recall a big FBI sting on some kind of white collar corruption around here? When was the last time? Been a while, huh?
Sure. Underway right now.
Yeah. Well. Okay. You got me. Good.
Yeah.
Good answer. Fast too. That's why he's the news guy, and I'm just a commentator. All right. So where do we get to go from here? Well, now that we've spent a little bit of time talking about how great things are up in the Northern Mariana Islands, and of course, you know, I'm happy to hear that they take things with a grain of salt. Personally, my rule is pride goes before the fall, and these guys know what it's like to have been in the tough times before. So they recognize and take good advantage when the times get good again. And hopefully they're able to sock away some money. Doesn't sound like they're trying to. They're giving out raises, but hopefully they'll be able to sock away some dough for the next time when some disastrous comes out. The next time a Japan Airlines says, we're done with you. We're not doing any more business around here. I got a note here out of Washington, D.C., about the incredible numbers of applications that are surging through the USCIS on the H-2B program, and what that may or may not mean for Guam. That'll be ahead in the program. What is it, 7 o'clock in the morning? This is KUSG Hagåtña. Coming up next, Fox News Live. We do that for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. On the other side of that, the amazing and fast Kevin Kerrigan going to be up on the radio to tell you everything that you need to know about Friday. That's right here on The Point.
This is a Fox News alert. 3 sell-offs in a row on Wall Street. The Dow down 423 points at the closing bell, a sell-off fueled by fear of a trade war after President Trump announced he'll impose new tariffs on steel and aluminum aimed at fairness for U.S. companies. Fox Business Network's Jerry Willis.
Boeing, Ford, GM, Caterpillar, these companies use steel and aluminum as inputs in their products, so they're buying this all the time. You talk to them directly, they'll say something like, oh, well, we buy U.S. steel, we buy U.S. aluminum, but the reality is they buy more than that, so they will pay more. This will push prices higher across the board.
Part of the concern, possible retaliation on other industries. For instance, if China were to target U.S. tech companies. Critics, including the Beer Institute, say the tariffs could cost thousands of jobs. And House Speaker Paul Ryan is urging the president to consider unintended consequences. But the head of U.S. Steel Corp, Dave Burritt, says this is past due.
We know when it's completely unfair. We are not protectionists. We want a level playing field.
He was part of a White House meeting with industry executives. Just 2 months after deadly mudslides in California, parts of the same area are being evacuated. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal, live in L.A.
Lisa, Santa Barbara County deputies are going door to door, telling people below 3 different wildfire burn areas to get out ahead of an incoming storm.
But due to the size and the breadth of the evacuation area, we will not be able to notify
And Sheriff Bill Brown says the impacted areas include as many as 30,000 people. The worst of the storm is expected to happen early tomorrow morning. The January 9th mud and debris flows also hit overnight, damaging or destroying hundreds of homes. 21 people were killed. 2 remain missing, Lisa.
Thanks, Jessica. Recapping the sell-off on Wall Street, the Dow, the S&P, and the NASDAQ all falling more than 1%. Fox News, fair and balanced.
Listen, my life changed because someone was there to get me to use drugs. No one can understand. Whether or not they've struggled with addiction themselves, people seem to think that having someone who will listen is gonna help make it better. I'm realizing that I need help.
I'm listening.
I need help. I'm realizing that I think that having someone who will listen is going to help make it better. Whether or not they've struggled with addiction themselves, people seem to understand. No one can get me to use drugs. My life changed because someone was there to listen.
1 in 7 Americans will struggle with addiction during their lifetime. Want to around. A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council.
A summit on the opioid epidemic just underway at the White House. President Trump says drug dealers should face tougher punishments and the federal government should sue drug companies accused of pushing painkillers too much, though drug makers deny fueling the crisis.
We're going to have to be very strong on penalties. Hopefully we can do some litigation against the opioid companies. I think it's very important because
Within a few
For
hours
over
or
55
days in
years,
advance.
Community First has served our island as a full-service financial institution.
Uber will send a text message with trip details or call your mobile phone or landline. Company leaders say they're expanding nationally due to a necessity, pointing to research that says millions of Americans miss appointments due to transportation problems. Uber's rival Lyft recently began a similar service called Concierge. Hillary Barsky, Fox News.
Parts of the Northeast about to get slammed with heavy rain, high winds, and snow.
Do not ride out the storm in your home if you are told to evacuate.
Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker urging anyone ordered to leave do so before high tide rolls in Friday morning.
All shorelines, including the islands, are at risk for moderate to major coastal flooding and severe erosion at some point during this storm.
Baker also recommends people work from home Friday and avoid all non-essential travel.
Fox's Steve Rappaport. Again, on Wall Street, the Dow down 420 points, but finishing over 24,600. At one point, it was down more than 500 points. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News Radio.
When the power goes out on Guam, the little things can become surprisingly big. Small comforts are often the things we miss most during a power outage. That is why Kohler built the fastest responding generator sets in the industry. Whether you are at home or away, a residential Kohler generator will enable you and your family to live life without interruption. Kohler gas, LPG, and diesel power systems are available from Morrico Equipment, LLC on Epal Road. Call 649-1946. That's 649-1946.
Chili's has the seafood you crave, the flavors you love, at a great price with our 3 for Me Lent menu. For just $15, you can get a beverage, fresh salad, and a Lent-friendly entree. First, choose from a refreshing Coca-Cola, iced tea, or Heineken on draft. Then enjoy a fresh house salad right before you indulge in your choice of a mouth-watering entree, like our spicy shrimp tacos, savory Cajun pasta with shrimp, or our flavorful grilled ancho salmon. Chili's 3 for Me Lent menu for just $15. Available for a limited time. Chili's, more life happens here.
Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959, and they'll continue to be there for you in the years to come. Whether you're looking to get a personal loan for that summer vacation or paying off those long overdue bills, Family Finance has got you covered. Apply for a personal loan from $1,000 up to $3,500 by calling Family Finance in Hagåtña at 475-4545, Upper Tuon 647-5626, or in Dededo 633-4473. Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959.
At Micronesia Renewable Energy, values matter. So all of their solar energy systems come with guarantees and the most value. No shortcuts, all quality. It's giving you that solar energy system at the best price. It's using highly efficient solar panels with typhoon-proven racking, built by highly skilled local technicians, so your system performs and saves you money. It's total peace of mind all the time. Not all solar companies are created equal. For experienced quality solar, it's MRE. Call 632-2613. MRE, the smarter choice.
Relax, enjoy, and be greeted by the spectacular view of Hagåtña Bay when you visit the point at the Sheraton Laguna Guam. Gaze into the beautiful sunset as you unwind to the music of Philip Garcia and Natasha on Wednesdays, Mama Shar and Nina on Thursdays, Philip Garcia and Luis Muñoz on Fridays, and Jack Larimer on Saturdays. Open daily from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Happy hour from 5 to 8 p.m. with all cocktail drinks for $7. Receive a discount when you present your SPG card. Call Peter Yaban at 646-2222 for reservations at the point at the Sheraton Laguna Guam Resort.
Half a day and good morning, Guam. News time here at The Point is 8 minutes past 7 a.m. this Friday morning. I'm Kevin Kerrigan. Here's a look now at some of the top stories from the Guam Daily Post. A 32-hour work week for GovGuam employees will not begin next Tuesday, despite Governor Calvo's executive order to implement one. The cost-cutting plan to roll back hours would have reduced GovGuam payroll by about 20%, but it was suspended on the advice of Attorney General Elizabeth Barrett Anderson yesterday, who advised the governor's furlough plan is invalid because it does not comply with GovGuam's personnel rules. Those rules state that employees must be notified at least 90 days ahead of a reduced work week or any other type of furlough. In response yesterday, the governor's office saying that the furlough plan will be amended. Adelup acknowledged that the governor and his advisors were aware of the furlough notification process, but they went ahead anyway with the executive order because of the current cash crisis, which threatens payless paydays and severe restrictions on government services. Meanwhile, the Guam Department of Education also coming to the same conclusion as the Attorney General about the planned furlough. And even before the AG announced her opinion, the Guam Education Board said that they would not implement the 32-hour work week as ordered by the governor. They cited a 2003 budget law that Guam DOE believes supersedes the 90-day personnel rule referred to by the Attorney General. That 2003 budget law requires a 30-day notice period for any rollback of work hours or other furlough. Meanwhile, over at the legislature, the conversation has turned to a sales tax following the defeat Wednesday of the governor's proposed increase to the business privilege tax. 3 bills, each proposing a 2% sales tax, have now come to the floor. However, a sales tax is not the final answer to the current fiscal crisis, says Majority Leader Senator Tom Atta. He points out that a sales tax is an entirely new levy for Guam. It'll require at least 30 days to formulate the rules and regulations to govern its collection. The first proceeds wouldn't be available until May, and no one is sure just how much money it would raise. The need right now, said Senator Atta, is an immediate cash infusion. He said the sales tax is a longer-term solution. Remarkably, the senator said a temporary increase to the business privilege tax is still being considered by some senators. We'll have more news after this.
Subway's got your fresh choices for Lent. Sink your teeth into the classic tuna or indulge in the mouth-watering greatness of our seafood sensation. Or try our tasty Veggie Max, a delicious vegetarian patty free of artificial colors and flavors. All our subs are served on freshly baked bread paired with vegetables cut fresh daily in restaurants and sauces that are sure to excite your taste buds. Visit any of our convenient locations today at Subway. Fresh is what we do.
As we journey through the new year, we here at APL continue to find ways to better deliver our island's resources with innovative and cost-effective solutions, lending our helping hands by carrying your freight safely from the U.S. mainland or anywhere in our global network. We humbly honor the opportunities to continue to work and connect with you and your business. We are APL, and we are here for you.
It is 11 minutes past 7 a.m. here at The Point. The attorney for a man who shot his girlfriend in the neck after an argument over burnt rice said yesterday that his client and the government could not agree on terms to avoid a second trial. Judge Michael Berdallo yesterday set a pre-trial conference date for Clifford San Nicolas on March 22nd, after San Nicolas's attorney, John Terlahi, told the court that no agreement on a plea deal could be reached with the Attorney General's office. The Guam Supreme Court overturned San Nicolas's murder conviction, ruling that the lower court had failed to ensure that jurors did not have access to media reports about the case. In January 2013, San Nicolas got into an argument with his girlfriend, Valine Borja, and shot her in the neck. Borja was paralyzed from the neck down and died a year later. Today marks day one of the trial of Raymond Martinez and Juanita Moser. The couple were arrested in June 2015, charged with conspiring to distribute methamphetamine. Martinez and Moser allegedly found in possession of 8 pounds of crystal meth in California that was intended to be shipped here to Guam during a sting operation involving former Guam Customs Officer Henry Alvendida, who was cooperating with the federal government. The defense, however, counters that there were serious flaws with that sting operation that took place in California and with the government's use of Alvendida as a cooperating witness. Opening statements are slated to be heard this morning in district court. For these stories and more, log on to postguam.com or pick up a copy of today's Guam Daily Post. Weather with Ray.
It says here, days will be partly cloudy with a slight chance of showers. Winds east to about 20 miles an hour expected highs today. 88 degrees. Nights partly cloudy with a slight chance of showers. Easterly winds blowing to 20 miles an hour. That's such a cool breeze. Maybe just a little sprinkling in there. Lows around 76 degrees. Sunset tonight, 6:29. Sunrise tomorrow morning about 6:35. Next couple of days looking dry with only isolated light showers into next week. Trade winds likely be breezy at times Sunday and Monday. Enjoy it, but be very careful when you're out of doors if you've got anything that could possibly ignite and start some grass fires. Time, 7:13. News and weather together right here on The Point.
We have those moments in our lives that happen unpredictably. The unexpected instances that we did not really need. Now you can count on us to stay well, Papa to live well, Papa to stay well, making sure you stay well. Oh, I'll lift you up when times are low. I'll see how far we'll go, and stay well.
Stay Well Insurance. See how far we'll go.
That's the happiest sound that you are going to hear. I love that jingle. The program here brought to you by King's Restaurant, serving Guam favorites to families for over 40 years. King's Restaurant, always open and always local.
Water. It covers nearly 3/4 of our Earth. From vast oceans to millions of rivers and streams. We're all concerned with protecting our world's water, but none is more important than the water you and your family drink and use throughout your home. A Connecticut water treatment system can improve your water so that your family is using the best water in the world. Connecticut, for refreshing ideas on water.
American Water Tech. Smarter water. Better water. Call American Water Tech at 649-2301 or email info@americanwatertech.com. A couple other places want to get you thinking about their business at breakfast time. Security Title, providing solutions for complex real estate transactions. And when you need some dough for those complex real estate transactions, this program is also brought to you by First Hawaiian Bank. It all starts with yes.
How do you turn every day into cash back? With the Bank of Guam Visa credit card, cash back just got better. Get 1.5% cash back every month with every purchase. Every pick-me-up, every filler-up, every Sunday dinner, every four-wheel spinner. Whatever comes to mind. Even every stroll in the sweet sunshine. Everything your heart desires turns into 1.5% cash back every month. The Bank of Guam Visa credit card, the everyday card. Apply today. Call, click, or visit. Terms and conditions apply. Bank of Guam, member FDIC.
For over 55 years, Community First has served our island as a full-service financial institution. And now, we're proud to introduce the new Community First Student-Run Credit Union, open in Mangilao on Route 10. Guam's first student-run financial institution, which means it's operated by college students like us, ready to serve all our members, existing and new. We're just down the road from UOG and GCC. Community First Guam Federal Credit Union, now open in Mangilao. This credit union is federally insured by NCUA.
Ray Gibson brings you closer to the action. Any speaker, anytime. Morning talk that matters.
Did you want me to look at the market? You don't want me to look at the market today. In fact, let me just say, don't look at the market today because it's no good. It was off hard, 420 points. But even as big as that number is, even as big as that is, 420 points, it only accounts for 1.68%. So it's a big bite, but I don't think it's a disastrous bite. It has everything to do with some tariffs that the president said he's going to be putting in line to support the steel and aluminum industry in the United States of America. Naturally, the components in the markets that are involved with the guys in the steel and the aluminum industry are probably up. You might not see them all in the whole big Dow Jones Industrial Average Index, but trust me, they're in there. 24,608 for the Dow, NASDAQ at 7180, and the S&P 500 closing at 2677 is where that number is. Nikkei Exchange also down, pretty big jump down for them, 343 points into minus 21,724. Is the number that we're looking at for the guys over at the Nikkei. Now, I wanted to also see if I could spirit some other information for you about what's happening in the oil industry. I just don't have those indexes open right now, so you're gonna have to trust me on it and save it for later. But there is at least another one of these big deals that I want to tell you about. Industry Forum is coming up next week, and there is, incidentally, unrelated to it, you're going to have make some decisions on what it is that you want to be attending. There is going to be the Guam Tax Plan and Economic Forum that is going to be taking place, put together by, let me see here, Guam Chamber of Commerce, the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce, a panel discussion and Q&A session with experts in finance, taxation, and economics. Joe Arnett's going to be there. Doris Flores Brooks is going to be there. Marie Benito from the Department of Revenue and Taxation is going to be there. Gary Hiles, Joe S. in Augustin, and Edmund Brobus are all going to be a part of that panel discussion, keynoted by David S. Addington, Senior Vice President, General Counsel, and Chief Legal Officer at the National Federation of Independent Businesses. Now, I cannot think of a more important time to take the time to be a part of this. 7:30 in the morning on March 9th, 2018, over at the Hilton. If you are a member of the Guam Chamber of Commerce or the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce, it's $25. Oh, my God, that's all? To hear from this kind of brain power, kids, I tell you what, I'd gladly pay more. And I'm sure they'll let me gladly pay more, $30 for non-members. But as I said, with everything that we've got coming down the road, and everything that we have been talking about when it comes to taxes and the general finances of the government of Guam, this might be the guy.
That's the solution, right?
More panel conversations. That's more of these get-togethers over at the Hilton. So find your guys at the chamber. Find the folks over at the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce, and make sure that you have got somebody from your accounting department that's going to be in attendance with that one. 7:18 in the morning. Do I need to look at traffic? No, I can go right into the extra point. Let's do that now. Here is Jerry Roberts on the point.
Oh no, you've dropped the ball, and now a customer is really mad. This is a disaster, or maybe a golden opportunity. Which is it? I'm Jerry Roberts, and we get busy with that question right now on The Extra Point. Service breakdowns aren't a matter of if, but when. Nobody escapes them. Everybody makes mistakes. Customers know that. They're not perfect either. When they bring you a problem, they just want to know what you're going to do about it. What happens next will define the relationship you're going to have with this customer moving forward. I've written a course on just this topic, and while I can't give it all to you here, I can provide the framework. And you can get the transcript when we finish. Just go to GuamTraining.com, click XP on the menu, and download Extra Point number 20. Here we go. I want you to solve the problem the safe way. S-A-F-E. It's an acronym. Ready? S is for sorry. Apologize for the customer's inconvenience. Show them your understanding and sincerely want to be of help. The mere act of saying you're sorry for their trouble goes a long way toward lowering their blood pressure and calming them down. And if there's any concern over who may be responsible for the problem, including financially responsible, saying you're sorry isn't admitting guilt. It's just a nice human thing to do. It says, I care. That's all. A is for ask. Get all the details of what went wrong. Let the customer vent if they're really upset. They're not mad at you personally, so don't take it that way. Make notes and let them know you want to know everything. F is for fix. If you can solve the problem, go for it. If you can't, then involve the people who can. Sit down with the customer and discuss possible outcomes. If the right people aren't immediately available, find out when they will be, so that the customer knows when the situation will be addressed. E is for educate. Document the problem in detail, writing it up as a case study so that everybody in your organization can see it from start to finish. The next time the issue arises, your staff will know exactly what to do. SAFE, the safe way to handle recovery when significant customer service problems pop up. Customer service trouble is also customer service opportunity, a chance for you to show how great your organization is when it comes to taking care of the people who voted with their wallet, showing you they believe in what you're doing. Stay safe. That's the extra point. Get out there and make something good happen today. For 93.3, I'm Jerry Roberts.
Yeah, and you might also want to take a look at some of those things. Copy that transcript. Good for business, but also good at home the next time, guys, you get in trouble with the missus. And you really, really need to get out there. I think we need to make it safe, though. Say SAFET. And the T stands for Tiffany's.
Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959, and they'll continue to be there for you in the years to come. Whether you're looking to get a personal loan for that summer vacation or paying off those long overdue bills, Family Finance has got you covered. Apply for a personal loan from $1,000 up to $3,500 by calling Family Finance in Hagåtña at 475-4545, Upper Tuon 647-5626, or in Dededo 633-4473. Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959.
At 7:23, we'll take a look at the traffic gizmo and see if there's anything that you need to worry about. Clearly reporting that it is Friday morning at 7:22. Traffic beginning to build up in all of the usual places, coming out of Dededo, moving through Route 3 towards the intersection of Guam Regional Medical City, Mangilao by the schools, and Route 10, just kind of if you're getting to GCC or UOG or any number of other places back there, expect some delays moving through that. Route 8 looking pretty clear right now. Southbound after the intersection of 8, 10, and 16, might see a little bit of additional traffic. It looks like you might also run into traffic if you're coming down from Mighty. I'll say it like this. Behind the old Rainbow on Route 7A that takes you into Hagåtña by the swimming pool in the Hagåtña Shopping Center, that has been snagging a whole lot early these days. So if you need to, if that's your route, then just watch out for it because it could cause you some snagging to get out of there. There was a problem getting out of Estumbo, but it looks like that might have cleared up. That's a look at traffic at 7:23 right here on The Point.
For over 55 years, Community First has served our island as a full-service financial institution. And now, we're proud to introduce the new Community First Student-Run Credit Union, open in Mangilao on Route 10. Guam's first student-run financial institution, which means it's operated by college students like us, ready to serve all our members, existing and new. We're just down the road from UOG and GCC. Community First Guam Federal Credit Union, now open in Mangilao. This credit union is federally insured by NCUA.
It's 7:25 in the morning. This is The Point, Ray Gibson Show. Kevin Kerrigan's got headlines around the corner. I got my buddy Mike who will pick up the phone when you dial 888-8255. Again, that is 888-8255. And just checking a couple of things. Hold on. This is me seeing if I still sound good. It's 7:25 in the morning. This is The Point, Ray Gibson Show. Kevin. Okay, that works. I've been getting a couple of notices from people that said, "Hey, I can't hear you on the tune-in or on the stream. Can you kick the pig?" So I kicked the pig, and it's working again. So those of you that normally listen to the program on the apps, you should be able to pick it up with absolutely no problem. Every once in a while, it's computers, man, because every once in a while, and usually at the most inopportune time, Friday morning, while you're actually on the air, the thing will start coughing scoffing back at you and saying, I don't feel like working today.
Slap it on the side.
You got to smack it on the network. That's what you got to do, and then roll the thing back up. But it reminds me, another one of these program notes, there's so many different ways. You know, our goal here at this radio station, my personal goal is to make it available any speaker, anytime. So if you want to watch the show when it's done, you can do that on Facebook with video on demand. You can go to our YouTube page and click on that. Kevin Kerrigan, a new subscriber to the program. Now, what was it that Bobby Schringy said? Can I get a copy of that? I said, yeah, go to youtube.com and search for Ray Gibson Show.
Did that yesterday.
And something will pop up. And the great thing is if you subscribe to the thing, then you'll get a note. You'll get some kind of notification that the show has been placed up there. And that makes a difference because it's 5 gigabits at a time, so it takes a while to upload the thing. And so it's not like it's going to be there at 10:01. So you'll know at 10:20, 10:25 after you get the notice that it's there. You can also hear us on Streama, Next Radio, and the way the Next Radio app works, if you've got a smartphone that has an FM receiver in it, it will listen to the point on the FM receiver, but any other information that we send to you, RDS messaging, things like that, you'll be able to get all of that through the phone's data plans. It'll save you some data. You can also find us on Streama and plenty of other places. So I think that in my mind is all I've got to tell you about that right now. It gets kind of confusing. So when somebody says, "Hey, I can't hear you on this," I got to try to remember which of 5 machines I'm sending it out on. So that's the way that works. And like I said, Friday morning's not the opportune time to be doing IT work, right, Joe?
Hello.
Hey, are you Joe?
On the air?
Yes, you are. Good morning, Joe. You're on the air, on the point.
Sure, sorry. So I was going to ask, did we get a return from FestPac? Or did we get as much as we invested, do you think? Or was there something that we could have economized on and not spent as much money on?
We could have skipped the whole thing. I'm sorry. We could have skipped the whole thing. I think the only people that are making money on FestPac now, I think it was the Rapa Nui guys. Right? You remember the Rapa Nui guys and the Rapa Nui girls? I think that at some point they were charging for pictures.
So what was the price tag on the FestPac thing?
I don't know. I don't even want to ballpark. I know that there's an audit or something floating around that gives the numbers. And I know that there was an attempt that was made by organizers and the other interested parties that there was supposed to be this whole big number that of people that came to Guam as a result of it. But, you know, they weren't staying in hotels. They weren't eating in the fancy restaurants. So I don't know if there was as much of an impact on you know, some of what we would normally categorize as hospitality benefits based on it.
So if it was to be made profitable, I'm thinking something like, is there like public land available somewhere in the Asin area, where, you know, somewhere you can see, if you're up in Nimitz Hill, top of the Mar, and you look down, right, somewhere in that vicinity, is there public land enough to make like a stadium for a football, baseball, soccer stadium?
We already have a nice soccer stadium up in Daydidu.
Well,
and multiple fields attached to that, and there's a nice gymnasium that we've got up there.
By the way, FestPac cost $8.1 million. 89,000 of that, they're not sure what it went to.
Is that what the number looks like?
That's what it is.
I'm glad you were able to find that.
That could have solved a lot of our cash shortage.
But if we'd have foregone the FestPac, how would that have made us look in the eyes of our island neighbors?
Yeah.
And the Rapa Nui cultures and all of that.
Did they use those stadiums then during the FestPac up in the Dedewa area, the northern?
They had a number of different venues that were all laid out on spreadsheets when it happened. I think there were a lot of people that went to the ones that were a little bit more central. It's like the Olympics. You know, there's certain events that you have to go to, and then there's curling. So
it's mostly central. Most of it was in the central part of Guam.
Yeah, I mean that's my recollection. Look, I'm one of those. I'm one of the guys when they first started talking about doing FestPac, I sent a note to Doris Brooks telling her that among the things that she needed to do was to set up some mechanism so that we could count up all of the receipts, because FestPacs, as have occurred in other places in the Pacific, have been nothing but expensive debacles in many of the places where they have occurred. And so I'm
case to be made for more documentation, like you said, and also if a stadium right there in the central part around Asin area where they would have to get a hotel room. they came to participate.
Well, but where'd they stay? They stayed at the DOE schools, right?
Well, I just thought I asked it. Thank you for your time.
Okay, I'll talk to you pretty soon. I don't know. When you are having money problems, I think the last thing that you need to do is throw a big party. And I don't know what the lingering benefits of it are. I went down to the museum a couple of weeks ago, and all of my friends paid $5 to go and see this exhibit that they had there, and it was wonderful. It was heartwarming, and it was I'm sure for the people that were involved a wonderful, wonderful thing. But at the end of it, it's as the man says, is $8 million that probably sure come in handy now as we're having these discussions and debates about what our next steps are going to be. And it sure would be great if everybody was as transparent as possible. You can't go out, and I don't know, blame the governor or the governor's people on this, but you can't go out and say we're going to do a 32-hour work week, we're going to be doing layoffs, knowing full well that there's a very good chance that the Attorney General is going to come out and say, as they have said consistently over the years when they have threatened 32-hour work weeks, that, hey, there's a plan, there's a process, and hold your breath because this doesn't happen inside 30 days.
Oops.
This doesn't happen because an executive order went out on Monday and you want it to happen on the following Monday. That doesn't happen. And so in my mind, the level of
panic,
disingenuousness, I think. I don't know if I'm coining a phrase. That sounds like a real word. Disingenuousness is just amazing. How are we supposed to believe anything that comes out now? When they say, oh, yeah, we knew that was going to happen. We knew that. And we did it anyway.
Well,
what?
Let's see if there's enough money in the bank to pay payroll during the month of March.
7:33, the proof will be in the pudding. Well, of course there will be. And somebody will stand up on a rock and proclaim loudly it was because
then we'll know for sure.
Strict austerity measures that they had taken in the past. All right, there is good news on the H-2B application process. The good news is, it's happening. We'll share some of those numbers with you in just a few minutes. At 7:33 in the morning, Kevin Kerrigan from the Guam Daily Post has this morning's headlines.
Half a day and good morning, Guam. In the headlines from the Guam Daily Post this morning, the governor's planned 32-hour work week aimed at reducing payroll costs by 20% has been suspended. Attorney General Elizabeth Barrett Anderson advising yesterday that the governor's furlough plan, which was supposed to take effect next Tuesday, is invalid because it does not follow long-standing personnel rules which require all affected employees to be notified at least 90 days ahead of time. Adelup said the furlough plan is now being amended. The governor's office yesterday also acknowledging that they knew of the notification process beforehand but went ahead with the furlough executive order anyway because of the government's dire cash situation. Guam Department of Education, meanwhile, also coming to the same conclusion as the Attorney General about that planned furlough. And even before the AG announced her opinion yesterday, the Guam Education Board announced that they would not implement a 32-hour work week as ordered by the governor, citing a 2003 budget law that Guam DOE believes supersedes the 90-day personnel rule referred to by the Attorney General. The focus at the legislature now is on a sales tax, but Majority Leader Senator Tom Atta cautions that it's not the final answer to the fiscal crisis facing the government of Guam. With the defeat of the governor's proposed increase in the business privilege tax on Wednesday, 3 bills, each proposing a 2% sales tax, have now come to the floor of the legislature. The problem, points out Senator Atta, is that a sales tax is an entirely new levy for Guam. It will require at least 30 days to formulate the rules and regulations to govern its collection. The first proceeds wouldn't be available until May at the earliest, and no one is sure just how much money it would raise. The need right now, said Senator Atta, is an immediate cash infusion. He said a sales tax is a longer-term solution. For these stories and more, log on to postguam.com or pick up a copy of today's Guam Daily Post.
That's Kevin Kerrigan with the headlines at 7:34. That's iConnect time. Hop on over to iConnect. Always like Easter Bunny. Hop on over to iConnect and receive a free gift and automatic entry to win an iPhone X with every new 12-month plan from now till Easter.
At Micronesia Renewable Energy, values matter. So all of their solar energy systems come with guarantees and the most value. No shortcuts, all quality. It's giving you that solar energy system at the best price. It's using highly efficient solar panels with typhoon-proven racking, built by highly skilled local technicians, so your system performs and saves you money. It's total peace of mind all the time. Not all solar companies are created equal. For experienced quality solar, it's MRE. Call 632-2613. MRE, the smarter choice.
Water. It covers nearly 3/4 of our Earth. From vast oceans to millions of rivers and streams. We're all concerned with protecting our world's water, but none is more important than the water you and your family drink and use throughout your home. A Connecticut water treatment system can improve your water so that your family is using the best water in the world. Connecticut, for refreshing ideas on water.
American Water Tech. Smarter water. Better water. Call American Water Tech at 649-2301 or email info@americanwatertech.com. Right now, traffic on the point. We like this because it goes by much faster than the way everybody else does it. You know, all of the action is up north when it comes to traffic today. It looks like a little bit of a slowdown coming out of Gigo. You might expect that. Moving further south, you will see from about Fatima and, that whole stretch of road there in between Fatima and GRMC is beginning to slow down here today. I got red lines in front of the GRMC intersection from Route 3 onto Marine Corps Drive, and there's a little bit of what looks like some congestion right in front of the Data Sports Complex. Is there a big game going on there today, or is it just... maybe just it's the line of people trying to get into the King's Restaurant that is over there at Compadres Mall. Don't know, but that's what things are looking like on the roadways this morning. 7:38 right now on the morning show here on The Point. This is the Ray Gibson Show. My name is Ray, and I got a bunch of stuff in front of me, and I've been threatening to tell you about a story out of Washington, D.C. about the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. They have begun receiving H-2B cap subject petitions for the second half of fiscal year 2018. That should be H-2B cap subject, that is subject to a cap for the second half of FY 2018. During the first 5 business days, USCIS received approximately 2,700 H-2B cap subject petitions requesting for about 47,000 workers, which is quite a lot more than the number of H-2B visas that are available. As a result, USCIS, in accordance with applicable regulations, conducted a lottery on February 28 to randomly select enough petitions to meet the cap. They will reject and return the petitions and the fees to petitioners like you that maybe perhaps might have nominated somebody that was not selected, as well as any other petitions received after February the 27th. In January, the Department of Labor announced a change to its process of issuing labor certificates. Now, as a result, they advised of the likely need to conduct an H-2B visa lottery for the second half of 2018. You might be going, but wait, man, I got a bunch of applications for guys that are supposed to be working on these military projects. Well, the good news is USCIS continues to accept H-2B petitions that are exempt from or not counted towards the congressionally mandated cap. That includes petitions for workers that are performing labor or services in the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas and or Guam until December 31st of 2019. So that is a decent news that we've got going on here, is that there's a whole lot of interest, obviously, in the program. We've hit the cap, but with regard to military and federal construction projects here on Guam, that should not be a problem. And I know Kevin Kerrigan has been watching out specifically for stories like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're happy to make your job easier here this morning. Let me see. I'm trying to think of what title. Do you get a new title when BJ's out, Frank?
No, I absolutely don't. Good morning, Ramon.
Good morning, Senator Frank Elgin Jr. with me on the program.
Good morning, Kev, and to all your listeners. Good morning.
Pleasure to have you on. I'll go back to the labor story in a second, but I wanted to get a couple of just quick minutes with you. As we started talking about this 32-hour work week, you were one of the first to sound the alarm bells and say, hold up, wait a second, that doesn't sound like, number one, procedure, and number two, if we're going to be doing something with personnel, perhaps there are some employees that the governor can start looking at right away.
Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, one of the concerns that I brought up was if you're going to start affecting our classified employees, you need to take a look at your political hires first and foremost, because based on the rules and regs, and that was my initial read, and it was reaffirmed yesterday by the Office of Attorney General with the addendum that was provided on her opinion on the issue, is that anytime that you're going to affect the compensation or furlough individuals, then you need to be able to ensure that you follow a particular process, and that process includes terminating all unclassified or political hires outside of the governor's office. And yes, that was a concern that I had.
No, you said that's actually part of the process. It's not just hey, Gov, you need to look at these guys first. I mean, it's actually going to be step one. Do you think?
It's highlighted if you take a look at the Attorney General's opinion yesterday. In the addendum, it highlights the process, and there are 4 different categories of personnel. And one is highlighted as not political hires per se, I believe it's unclassified. I need to take a look. I'm trying to find the document.
Right. Pat Mason had addressed that concern back in 2007 in his memorandum that said that there are people that the governor hires and brings close to him, but based on, I don't know, trying to remember the verbiage that he used, but basically he said even though they are unclassified employees, because they are there to assist the governor in him doing his job, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're first to go.
Well, in this particular case, my understanding, and obviously I need some additional legal guidance in regards to the interpretation, is that when in reference to, let's say, the director or the deputy director who is a direct hire of the governor of Guam, then that may be a situation where, in fact, it will not affect that individual occupying that position as a political hire. Mm-hmm. But there are others, such as limited-term employees, individuals that are brought in for shorter duration, that are not funded by other funding sources other than the general fund. So we need to make sure that we stay on target on that particular discussion.
Okay. As I said, take a look. I'm looking to see if I've got it in front of me, and it might be in the pile marked yesterday's news on the desk. But it seems to me that Patrick, when he went through this a few years ago, actually stopped and looked at that, because it was part and parcel of a question that was asked at the time about the nature of these unclassified employees that work for the governor. And by virtue of the fact that they're unclassified, as you point out, Appendix H would say that they got to go, but because they are there actually doing work in the government for the governor.
I know you're referencing Mr. Pat Mason, but the addendum that was attached to the Attorney General's opinion yesterday was signed off by Attorney John Weisenberger, and I believe he was a Deputy Attorney General at that point in time, and it was dated as of
2009. So we've got the difference between, we've got the difference between a memorandum in 2007 and an actual opinion in 2009.
That's correct. This is for information and guidance.
Right.
The Attorney General dated 2009. And the sequence of, it says, sub-item 3 in one of the pages, affected employees of the department's agency occupying the same position classes shall be released or, in parentheses, furloughed in the following order. First, part-time, short-term, or seasonal. Second, provisional employees. Third, temporary or limited term. And then fourth, probational and initial. So there are certain categories of political hires that certainly have to go in a sequence prior to effectuating or affecting classified employees.
Okay, so we'll review that as well. I was looking at the other provisions. There's a whole section. This is deja vu. I remember reading this before on the air on the procedures and the steps that still need to be taken, and the way this is all going to commence. I also want to get your if you're. I don't want to say that the word is incensed. I'm just kind of disappointed when we knew that there were procedures that needed to be followed, and certain of them, the very first one, a 90-day written notice that there's going to be this employee action, this furlough is going to be part of a plan, and then identifying the people that were going to be part of this furlough. That didn't happen. It came out by executive order. They said they knew about it, but did it anyway. And as I said, I just find that to be very disingenuous.
Well, I am going to leave that as part of your opinion, because I certainly agree that if, in fact, there was acknowledgement that there's a requirement that notification has to be provided 90 days out from implementing any furlough or any reduction in personnel, then certainly you need to be able, or we as a government, we need to ensure that notification follows the laws, the policies, the guidelines, and the rules and regs. As simple as that, because we need to ensure that our classified personnel and all personnel acknowledge that this is a situation that requires it, whether it's the finances of the government or other reasons, that we certainly need to provide them notification and they can plan accordingly.
I would make the recommendation, and maybe that we can ask the acting speaker, Vice Speaker Therese, to post on the legislature's website Appendix H, and let all of the employees of the government of Guam, classified, unclassified, LTEs, know that it's there, so that if they're looking for the truth and the actual law and what these procedures are, then there is a place to find it.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
Okay, let me certainly make that recommendation. Actually, you made the recommendation on the air, so we'll see if by any chance they'll be.
Yeah, but I don't. Nobody there works for me. Technically, I mean, I know you all work for the people, but it's not like I can say, put some water over here too.
No, but Ray, we do listen to your radio talk show, and this is where some of the ideas also originate. So
okay, well, I've already given you an idea. I'm gonna save another idea for Senator Tom Addo. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'll talk to you pretty soon. Yeah, we're talking to everybody this morning. That's the word there from Frank Uggan is all right. Here's the deal. If you're looking for savings, Gov, take a look at some of the unclassified guys and have them work for nothing for however long this furlough needs to be. And there are some ideas that are floating around. I'm kind of interested in some of the conversation that is attributed to Senator Tom Addo. Good morning, Senator. Welcome back to the program.
Good morning, Ray.
I'm interested in, I'm trying to remember, I think it was in the Daily Post this morning, where you said that it is possible now that there has been some language coming out of the Attorney General's office that some things have changed. Developments have occurred that now there may be more receptiveness, especially on the part of the administration, to move forward with a modest increase in the BPT, but for a short time. Are you still of that opinion this morning in the cold light of day?
Yes, and several days ago when that particular bill, which was Bill 245, when it got voted down by a vote of 10-4, I think the deal breaker was the fact that the duration of the sunset of this increase was 2 years, and then there was that the other school of thought that said, no, that's too long. We need to put people's feet to the fire. That sunset period has got to be shorter. And so what was proposed by Speaker Cruz then was that the sunset will be June 30th, which would have been like 108 days from the basically that whole period. Mm-hmm. And it seems that the administration is coming around and is receptive to that. I think, with the thing.
Wait, what is that based on? Where are you getting that sense from? Is there a back channel that's coming through and saying, all right, Yeah, because of the furlough plan being on hold. Okay. No, who's that? It's the caucus? Good. Turn on the microphone.
And I'm just saying that I think the picture tells 1,000 words, and the picture on the front page of the Post is everybody's huddled around your desk, Senator Atta.
Yeah.
Republicans and Democrats. So there was a lot of discussion sort of in recess that took place yesterday.
That's right. And when we did recess in the morning, it was made very clear that we needed to recess so that we can have, more of this offline dialogue between representatives of the administration and the senators. And I thought that was a real productive discussion that went on. And the administration representatives came back and said, okay, fine, we're receptive to that, to go for a shorter duration, and we'll get to that bridge. If it's too short, we'll get to that bridge we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But we need to get it out there because the fact remains is that an immediate cash infusion is needed.
What's the vehicle that you're going to use for this? 245 is dead. The other measures that are out there are sales tax measures, and I don't think that the body, and I don't know that the community would suffer the conversation right now of changing our tax regime while we're in the midst of these problems. It's interesting, but we certainly need more than a couple of weeks to get through all of this. So is somebody preparing new legislation that would provide for that part of 245?
Well, there's the other option of adjourning and getting out of this special session, and then asking to reconvene a regular session, and one of the a primary reason, although when we go into a regular session, you can't limit what's on the agenda.
Correct.
So one of the agenda items will be to reconsider the actions of the body on Bill 245 to bring it back, and then that way you can bring it back up and make the necessary amendments to it to make it palatable.
Reconsider 245? Bring it back? Is there a Lazarus clause out there somewhere I'm unaware of?
No, in checking with legal counsel, that is a feasible option that's available.
Revive 245, which has already gone through the entire process, including the vote of the body, where it failed 4 votes against 10, and bring it back on the floor for reconsideration.
Yeah, but remember, like I said, the reason why it failed the first time was that for many, the deal breaker was the duration of the sunset period. Instead of initially the administration wanted to keep that tax increase for 2 years, and so that was a deal breaker, and everybody says, okay, fine, let's try and get it shorter, and everybody's just going to have to nose to the grindstone to come up with the other revenue enhancement alternatives, right. and so there was, that couldn't be agreed on, but it seems that now there's some wiggle room available, and people may reconsider their position on 245 if the duration is shortened.
Okay, not to try to restart the whole conversation, but that's not the only amendment that had been proposed for 245 was the change in the duration until the sunset period. There were also conversations about the rate of the taxation change. Would that still be 50%, or is there another percentage that the body might be looking at that you believe the Adelup guys might be in favor of?
I think there's probably going to be still more discussion that may be needed as to whether there can be enough support for a 1% tax increase with a duration with a sunset of June 30th, or 2%. But I think the more important issue was the duration, because if we make it for 2 years, well, by December this administration is gone, so.
As I've said many times, I trust you, but you're not going to be there when this is all done, and who knows what's going to be happening with a bunch that will be sitting in those chairs.
Yeah, and well, the thing is, we've got to recognize that there's an immediate need for a cash infusion, and this is probably the increase in the BPT is probably the surest way to achieve that.
But even if you do it today, even if you guys went in at 10 o'clock this morning and did this Lazarus trick and was able to get something through, we're still talking about just whatever dough we've got for February, right? I mean, this we won't see any of that new money until April.
That's true, and so that means there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a need for a tighter cash flow management. Usually, I believe it's during the month of March and April is when the government receives its largest infusion of cash. And I think in April, because of that's when everybody pays their taxes. In March, there's also a large, usually they receive a lot of cash. So they can catch up. But then after that, it's kind of like the well goes dry after that. So that's when that added additional cash will be needed. And the further down it gets pushed, the more difficult it gets to overcome that hurdle.
Yeah. So there's no doubt in your mind, Senator, that there really is a financial crisis, because there have been a lot of threats from the administration over the past week, and some people now doubt the reality of that. But do you have any doubts about the need for an immediate infusion of cash?
Well,
I think that answer there says it all.
No. I mean, we can.
I mean, is there a real threat there? Because some people now doubt it.
Well, let's put it this way: we could probably get by without implementing the furloughs on March 6th next week, and push that can a little bit further down the road. But you can only push it so far before then the debt that has piled up becomes really difficult to overcome, because it's kind of like, okay, so next week we're not going to furlough employees, and we're going to do that by let's say withholding the payments to retirement, withholding the payments to whatever, right? So that way we meet payroll. Next month there may not be that option, because those payments have to be made on top of the payroll. So it just gets, the obstacle just gets bigger and bigger to overcome until finally it gets overwhelming.
So this is real. There is a real financial crisis, and something has to be done immediately then, in your opinion.
Yes, so that we don't create this big crisis. And I think the difference is that we've got to look down the road, and the OPA estimated, the Office of Finance and Budget, the SES group, they all pretty much agreed that we are expecting a $67 million revenue shortfall as a result of the new federal tax cut. And so we cannot deny that. Now, the administration has stepped forward and said, okay, here are some of the cost-cutting measures that we can do to reduce, the expenses, right, on that side of the equation. But that's still not going to be enough to backfill the $67 million anticipated.
Certainly, and with the news from the Attorney General's office yesterday that there is a 90-day procedure that needs to start with, I assume, another order coming out of the governor's office, that only exacerbates the issue here. I wish I had more time this hour. We got the Fox News coming up in just a couple of seconds. Session starting at 10 o'clock this morning. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and offline, I'll see if you can get me a description on what it is that you guys are going to be talking about for this particular continuation, or as you point out, maybe it's best to just adjourn this special session and start all over again with a regular legislative session soon.
Okay.
We'll see what happens. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. This is radio station KUSG Hagutnia, headquarters for hourly Fox News.
Live from New York, the Fox Report.
And Lisa Brady. March comes in like a lion on Wall Street. The Dow drops 420 points back into the red for the year. The S&P and the Nasdaq also down over 1% today. A sell-off fueled in part by fear of a trade war after the president said new tariffs are coming.
We're going to build our steel industry back, and we're going to build our aluminum industry back.
Fox's John Decker at the White House.
White House spokeswoman Sarah Sanders defending the president's decision to impose stiff 25% tariffs on imports of steel and 10% tariffs on imports of aluminum as he gets tough on foreign competitors.
The president's concerned about the men and women of this country who have been forgotten about, the industries that our country was founded and built on, and this shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. This is something, frankly, the president's been talking about for decades.
House Speaker Paul Ryan in a statement said he hopes the president will consider the unintended consequences of this idea and look at other approaches before moving forward.
Canada says it views any trade restrictions on its steel and aluminum is absolutely unacceptable, and industries that rely heavily on those raw materials, like airlines and car makers, have caused concerns. The Beer Institute warning the tariffs could ultimately cost over 20,000 jobs. One airline's being punished in one state after ending a discount for NRA members.
Georgia lawmakers denying a lucrative tax cut for Delta after the Atlanta-based airline severed ties with the NRA. The legislature approving a sweeping tax bill Thursday, but stripped a provision to exempt jet fuel from sales taxes. Republican Governor Nathan Deal criticizing what he calls an unbecoming squabble, but says he will sign the measure. Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle proposed killing the tax break. Cagle is running for governor this year.
Fox's Steve Rappaport. More than a dozen companies cut ties with the NRA after the Florida high school shooting. Fair and balanced.
I'm in almost every school bus and classroom. I go to school with your children. We say the Pledge of Allegiance together. You see me around the neighborhood and you tell me that I'm a pretty good kid. Well, I'm one out of every 5 children in America, and I'm struggling with hunger. This problem is closer than you think. My teacher tells me we can grow up to be whatever we want. I want to grow up to be someone who doesn't go to bed hungry. There's enough food in this country to feed everybody. Please visit feedingamerica.org today and find your local food bank for ways to help. Every dollar you donate helps provide 8 meals for kids like me, quietly struggling with hunger. Together, we are Feeding America, brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Residents are being told to get out in part of California where they had deadly mudslides in January as another storm moves in. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal, live in L.A.
Lisa, Santa Barbara County Sheriff Bill Brown issued mandatory evacuation orders for as many as 30,000 people living below 3 wildfire burn areas, including the huge Thomas Fire from this past December. A storm is headed in, and the worst of it is expected to hit overnight. Brown says he knows evacuating is inconvenient, but
this really is something that has to become part of the new normal for the southern part of Santa Barbara County in the wake of what happened on January the 9th.
When mud and debris from heavy rain crashed down hillsides, mostly in the Montecito area, killing 21 people, 2 are still missing, Lisa.
Jessica, thanks. U.S. officials say Russian President Vladimir Putin was trying to shore up support at home with a State of the Nation speech he gave today, 2 weeks before he's up for re-election.
Putin showcased the latest Russian weapons, videos of nuclear-powered cruise missiles, torpedoes, and a new long-range missile. U.S. officials say Moscow is concerned about the Pentagon's plan to build 2 new low-yield nuclear weapons to compete with Russia.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson at the Pentagon. Putin is claiming one of his new missiles is unstoppable. Something for country music fans to look forward to.
Reba McEntire will host the 53rd Annual Academy of Country Music Awards. Chris Stapleton leads with 8 nominations in 5 categories. including his first nomination for Entertainer of the Year. Thomas Rhett earned 6 nods, Keith Urban 5, and Miranda Lambert and Maren Morris both had 4 nominations.
Fox's Michelle Polino, 16-time winner Faith Hill, and hubby Tim McGraw getting their first ever nomination as a duo. In New York, I'm Lisa Brady on Fox News Radio.
Wendy's welcomes the new Smoky Mushroom Bacon Cheeseburger, featuring smoky sautéed portobello mushrooms, melted Asiago cheese, crispy applewood smoked bacon, and crunchy fried onions atop a juicy beef patty. For those craving the same great taste, Wendy's Smoky Mushroom Bacon Potato is also loaded with sautéed portobello mushrooms, cheddar cheese sauce, and crispy applewood smoked bacon. Here, for a limited time, get a delicious Smoky Mushroom Bacon Cheeseburger and Smoky Mushroom Bacon Potato today. Wendy's. Now that's better.
When the power goes out on Guam, the little things can become surprisingly big. Small comforts are often the things we miss most during a power outage. That is why Kohler built the fastest responding generator sets in the industry. Whether you are at home or away, a residential Kohler generator will enable you and your family to live life without interruption. Kohler gas, LPG, and diesel power systems are available from Morrico Equipment, LLC on Epal Road. Call 649-1946. That's 649-1946.
We have those moments in our lives that happen unpredictably. The unexpected instances that we did not really need. Now you can count on us to stay well, Papa, to live well, Papa, to stay well, making sure you stay well. Oh, we'll lift you up when times are low. I'll see how far we'll go, and stay well.
Stay Well Insurance. See how far we'll go.
$7 meal from Circle K. Get your choice of 2 Nathan's all-beef hot dogs or a half-pound Nathan's all-beef footlong, a big wrap bag of chips, and any size Polar Pop. That's a giant deal of a meal, all for only $7. Circle K. Take it easy.
Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959, and they'll continue to be there for you in the years to come. Whether you're looking to get a personal loan for that summer vacation or paying off those long overdue bills, Family Finance has got you covered. Apply for a personal loan from $1,000 up to $3,500 by calling Family Finance in Hagåtña at 475-4545, Upper Tuon 647-5626, or in Dededo 633-4473. Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959.
Half a day and good morning, Guam. News time here at The Point is 8 minutes past 8 o'clock this Friday morning. I'm Kevin Kerrigan. Here's a look now at some of the top stories from the Guam Daily Post. A 32-hour work week for GovGuam employees will not begin next Tuesday, despite Governor Calvo's executive order to implement one. The cost-cutting plan to roll back hours would have reduced GovGuam payroll by about 20%, but it was suspended on the advice of Attorney General Elizabeth Barrett Anderson, who advised that the governor's furlough plan is invalid because it does not comply with GovGuam's personnel rules. Those personnel rules state that employees must be notified at least 90 days ahead of any reduced work week or any other type of furlough. In response, the governor's office yesterday said the furlough plan would be amended, Adelup acknowledging that the governor and his advisors were aware of the notification process, but went ahead with the executive order anyway because of the current cash crisis, which threatens payless paydays and severe restrictions on government services, they say. The Guam Department of Education, meanwhile, also came to the same conclusion as the Attorney General yesterday about the planned furlough next week. And even before the AG announced her opinion, the Guam Education Board said that they would not implement a 32-hour work week as ordered by the governor, citing a 2003 budget law that Guam DOE believes supersedes the 90-day personnel rule referred to by the AG. That 2003 budget law requires a 30-day notice period for any rollback of work hours or other furloughs. Meanwhile, over at the legislature, the conversation has now turned to a sales tax following the defeat Wednesday of the governor's proposed increase to the business privilege tax. 3 bills, each proposing a 2% sales tax, have come to the floor. However, a sales tax is not the final answer to the current fiscal crisis, says Majority Leader Senator Tom Atta. He points out that a sales tax is an entirely new levy for Guam. It'll require at least 30 days to formulate the rules and regulations to govern its collection. The first proceeds wouldn't be available until May, and no one's just sure just how much money it would raise. The need right now, said Senator Atta, is an immediate cash infusion. He said a sales tax is a longer-term solution. Remarkably, the senator said, temporary increase to the business privilege tax is still being considered, despite the 10 votes cast against a BPT increase Wednesday. Senator Atta said there may be more receptiveness now on the part of the administration to go ahead with an interim BPT tax increase with a June 30th sunset date instead of 2 years. We'll have more news after this.
Chili's has the seafood you crave, the flavors you love, at a great price with our 3 for Me Lent menu. For just $15, you can get a beverage, fresh salad, and a Lent-friendly entree. First, choose from a refreshing Coca-Cola, iced tea, or Heineken on draft. Then enjoy a fresh house salad right before you indulge in your choice of a mouth-watering entree, like our spicy shrimp tacos, savory Cajun pasta with shrimp, or our flavorful grilled ancho salmon. Chili's 3 for Me Lent menu for just $15. Available for a limited time. Chili's, more life happens here.
At Micronesia Renewable Energy, values matter. So all of their solar energy systems come with guarantees and the most value. No shortcuts, all quality. It's giving you that solar energy system at the best price. It's using highly efficient solar panels with typhoon-proven racking, built by highly skilled local technicians, so your system performs and saves you money. It's total peace of mind all the time. Not all solar companies are created equal. For experienced quality solar, it's MRE. Call 632-2613. MRE, the smarter choice.
11 minutes past 8 a.m. here at The Point. The attorney for a man who shot his girlfriend in the neck after an argument over burnt rice said yesterday that his client and the government could not agree on terms to avoid a second trial. Judge Michael Bordallo yesterday set a pretrial conference date for Clifford San Nicolas on March 22nd, after San Nicolas's attorney John Terlahi told the court that no agreement on a plea deal could be reached with the Attorney General's office. The Guam Supreme Court overturned San Nicolas's murder conviction, ruling that the lower court failed to ensure that jurors did not have access to media reports about the case. In January 2013, San Nicolas got into an argument with his girlfriend, Valine Borja, shot her in the neck. Borja was paralyzed from the neck down and died a year later. The 4 Department of Corrections officers notified of their temporary suspensions following the murder of Ernst Manson are not planning to immediately appeal the proposed adverse action against them. The decision to defer the appeals came after a closed-door meeting between the officers and DOC Director Tony Lamarena, who's told the media that he'll let the officers know when their suspensions will take effect, those suspensions ranging from a couple of days to 5 or 6 days. GFT Union Representative Robert Koss said that the officers told him they want the media attention to die down before pursuing an appeal, but Koss said he has reservations about that because the law requires that there be a date certain set for any adverse action. Manson was found dead in his cell in December. He'd been beaten to death. 7 fellow detainees at the Agana lockup have been charged with his murder. For these stories and more, log on to postguam.com or pick up a copy of today's Guam Daily Post. Here's Ray now with the weather.
Looking outside, it's nice. Days partly cloudy with a slight chance of showers. Winds easterly 20 miles an hour, and daytime highs should be about 88 degrees. Overnight lows 76 degrees. Fire weather watch has been extended through this afternoon. Further extensions may be needed for the weekend. If you look in the Guam Daily Post today, you'll see a little graphic that says we are in extreme fire danger rating. Might be needed for the weekend depending on how much rain makes it to Guam over the next day or two, but doesn't look like there's a whole lot by way of rain in the forecast right now. And for some of you, that might be a great big thing. Tomorrow morning, there is going to be the Rainbows for All Children 3.5-mile run walk. Last day for pre-registration, $10. At Hornet Sporting Good, it'll be $15 tomorrow. Race is tomorrow at the Micronesia Mall, 5:15 showtime, go time 6 a.m. Registration, again, is going to be for $15 on race day. So get to Hornet today and see Marie and let them know that Ray and Kevin were talking about your race right after the 8 o'clock news. Okay?
See?
Put that down in there.
We respond.
Absolutely. You know, I don't know that it's happened since we got him.
We listen to our listeners.
So we're talking to Tom, and he says things, and at the same time, 5 WhatsApps go off. Wait a second, what did he just say? Chase something down on that one for me, would you? And so yeah, we got some of the answers to those questions. That's news and weather for you right here on The Point.
For more than 40 years, we've managed our island's most precious resource, your health. Take Care's benefit plans allow members access to more than 120 medical providers, 40 dental providers, and 18 pharmacies in the region. Take Care's health plans ensure members in Palau, Saipan, and Guam receive the care they deserve. Our programs and wellness classes have proven results for our valued members, and our commitment to your health never been stronger. Take Care, our island, your health plan.
Hey, need some yum? Try King's Restaurants. What, never heard of King's before? Oh, you got it. Compadres Mall's got one, and then they have another one over at GPO, serving Guam's families. Actually, they've been doing this for years, over 40 years. King's Restaurant, always open and always local.
Water. It covers nearly 3/4 of our Earth, from vast oceans to millions of rivers and streams. We're all concerned with protecting our world's water, but none is more important than the water you and your family drink and use throughout your home. A Connecticut water treatment system can improve your water so that your family is using the best water in the world. Connecticut, for refreshing ideas on water.
American Water Tech. Smarter water. Better water. Call American Water Tech at 649-2301 or email info@americanwatertech.com.
The Coconut Wireless is back. Morning talk that matters. The Ray Gibson Show.
Yeah, Coconut Wireless, and in 2018, the Coconut Wireless is a combination town hall radio, just like the kind you're listening to right now, and WhatsApp. And like I said, Tom says some things in the radio, and all of a sudden you can hear the WhatsApp notifications start to blossom on the radio. What kind of responses? We can share some of these with you. I won't necessarily tell you where they're from, but we can share them. Governor's office already promised to take that cut, the 1% cut. Over a shorter term. So shorter sunset, half as big. Is that a fact? I had not heard or seen that in any of my other back channel communications.
Yeah, no, the debate started off with Will Castro proposing that compromise, and then it descended. That was earlier this week.
But it's not the same as Les Carlson saying it or Eddie Calvo saying it.
Well, it was on the table. Senator, Will Castro said the administration would go or propose an amendment for 1 year instead of 2 years. It was defeated.
Well, this is much shorter than a year. I mean, they're talking about middle of summer.
Yeah, June 30th.
So about the time where if it's clear that there is the need, and thank you for pressing that twice, if it is clear that there is a need, then that's when we'd see some of the notices, the final notices in the procedures go out.
That was the Speaker's amendment, and that was defeated.
Exactly. But as has been pointed out by the governor, in some cases those were defeated not necessarily by an overarching number of Republican votes. Democrats also didn't side on that.
Well, as Senator Addis said, things have changed in the past couple of days. We'll see.
And a question that I'd asked out loud the other day on the radio is, why this franticness? What's the deal? Why is everybody whole hog to push this thing through? Is it the $67 million, or is there other?
Da-dum.
So this one of the other WhatsApp blooms came in and said, I believe the overriding thing Eddie is concerned about is tax refunds. He's not going to make it, and that's going to end up being his legacy. And that's why the big push. And I'm trying to, in my head, go, really, that's it? It's a big deal, tax refunds. I get it, but why are you going to hang your legacy on something that you kind of had to do anyway?
Well, I think we'll know by the end of the month if we make each payday. There's 2 paydays in March. If those checks go out to everybody unencumbered,
boom, and full checks too, not net checks, right? So
we'll see.
Car payments, mortgages,
if
insurance.
they can't do that, then that's proof positive that there's a real problem there.
I agree. Should probably get around to doing sports because we got the guy in front of us now. Friday morning sports report. with the incredible Blake Watson wearing his Selena shirt.
It is. Selena is, she is very much represented here.
Yeah?
Yes.
Because?
Because today is the state of Texas's Independence Day.
Wow.
March 2nd, 1836.
So how long has Texas been an independent country?
Since 1836.
What? Which says it's independent. I'm just saying, do I need a visa when I go there?
Yeah. I don't know. They're still part, right? They haven't seceded.
Not yet,
Michael,
but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
but
They
you know
always threaten. They always threaten.
It
over
goes
there to
before
do
their
that.
it goes
They always
before their
threaten.
Congress and
I
legislature.
drove into Texas once. I remember getting into the border, and the guy pulls me over. He says, "Driver's license, registration, please." And I took out my driver's license, registration. He said, "Do you have a handgun?" I said, "No." He says, "Here's one. Here's one. You can use mine." So I thought, my kind of town. This is great. Well, happy Independence Day.
Thank you. I celebrate my so my TV I just got it out of the shop again. Luckily, but by the way, get the warranty because it really came in handy.
Yeah.
Thank you. And but I'm excited. I just got it yesterday afternoon, right in time to watch to do my Texas Independence Day nightly ritual, which is.
I'm sorry, you almost had the coffee coming out of my nose.
Which is Shiner Bock beer and both versions of the Alamo. So I watched the John Wayne 1960 version, and then I watched the 2004 version with Dennis Quaid and Bill
how
Bob
interesting!
Thornton.
How interesting is that?
And when I went to Bangkok, Thailand,
Well, see, now, my dad's listening, and he's got a whole newfound respect for you because my old man's a big John Wayne fan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I love John Wayne. When I grew up, also Red River is a good Texas John Wayne movie as well. But either way, I went to Bangkok over the holiday break.
You started. I'm a Donovan's Reef guy. Sorry, it's a little bit more culturally relevant to me.
Right.
Donovan's Reef. What about you? Big John Wayne movie? Go.
Wow. So many. I had to watch them as a kid.
So I'm going to give you some time to think about it. I understand. Put me on the spot here. Oh, thank God, because he's looking at me like, "Who's John Wayne?"
My dad would watch them for hours and hours.
Yeah.
There's not a bad John Wayne movie. How about that?
There you go.
The Quiet Man, Red River.
Oh, Quiet Man.
Quiet Man's good.
What a great story.
McClintock is good in his later on in his career.
What do you think, Kevin?
John who?
So can I just...
No, the Unforgiven, that's my favorite Western. Clint Eastwood, The Unforgiven, hands down.
Yeah.
I'll watch that again and again.
My grandfather was a cattle auctioneer for a while. He was also a square dance caller, and he used to sell cattle to John Wayne.
Get out.
Yeah, well, John Wayne would show up to the cattle auctions and buy cattle. He'd be one of the many cowboys.
Oh, that is incredible. And that's where one of these days we'll press Blake on impressing us with his auctioneer voice. I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it now because I know it takes a little bit of setup. You got to be in a frame of mind to be able to do something like that. At any rate, so what were we talking about?
No, I was just going to say really quick, keeping with the John Wayne thing that I'm done, is that I went to Bangkok, Thailand, and I found a record shop because I play vinyl at home. I like the record sound. I know, coming full circle. And over in Bangkok, Thailand, I found a original Japanese, printed issue of the original soundtrack from the 1960 Alamo. So I bought it.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have played for my daughter, put it on the record player, and I spin the original 1960 Alamo soundtrack.
Interesting. All right. So we're clearly not going to talk about sports here this morning. And Mark's on the line. Want to talk about John Wayne instead. Good morning, Mark.
Hey, good morning, Ray.
Hey.
Yeah. Big Jake is my favorite movie.
Which one?
Big Jake.
Big Jake. Yeah.
Big Jake.
You got to watch it. It's in the sunset of his life, and he's an old cattle baron from Texas whose grandson gets kidnapped, and he goes after him, and everybody thinks he's dead, and that's the line that they keep using in the movie.
That was like
I thought she was dead.
1971, I believe. That was you're right. It was later on in his career. He was an older man.
I think it was right. I think that was the movie right before The Shootist, his last movie.
Yeah, The Shootist, and then I want to say the girl from the lady from Gone with the Wind. Is it Maureen O'Hara? I think she's in that movie. She's in Big Jake too.
Yeah, in McClintock, in Big Jake, she's his estranged wife.
That's true. And
but Ray will remember my Uncle Eddie. That was our family nickname. We all called him.
That's right. That's right. Interesting. What were you going to say, Kev?
John Wayne Genghis Khan.
That's right.
That's right.
There's he played Genghis
That's
Khan. He sounded just like John Wayne.
So we all got to. One of these days, we all got to get together in my old man's living room in North Carolina and just sit there, because it's one of the things that Shelley and I go visit the old man, and there's a whole lot of time. Yep, that's right, Genghis Khan.
Forgot about that.
So there is that. You just know that one of these days we're going to be on Netflix and it's going to be a John Wayne thing all day long, and so that's why I've gotten a lot of my education on John Wayne, and so I appreciate that. That's what a great memory for Uncle Jake, huh?
Yeah, and you know what? The other thing is with your dad. I'm pretty sure he's sitting back there in North Carolina. Hi, Uncle Bill. And thinking of my Uncle Eddie and just saying, you know what? I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Driving around the ranch with his old 30-30 Winchester.
Hey, just real quick. Actually, you know what? Do me a favor. Line up a phone call with me a little bit later on in the morning. I wanted to get your thoughts, because you're in the heavy equipment game, and between you and the family, know everything there is to know about diesel and stuff like that. I'm kind of curious on what your thoughts are moving forward. Big industry forum coming up this week, and so I'm wondering how you think people ought to be able to stage themselves for these upcoming interesting times with that. All right.
I will. I'll call you after 9.
All right, groovy. Be looking forward to it. All right, we got 8:25. You got to try to get in some semblance of sports activity here today. So what was it? The big IAAG awards went out yesterday?
Yes, the tennis title was awarded for the 4th straight year after heading into a tiebreaker with the Harvest Eagles. The FD Friars defended their IAAG tennis title for the boys' tennis season this year. Both teams headed into the end of the season, head-to-head meeting. During the regular season, they tied that, and it would be the Friars who allowed less points on the season, and that is what decided the final tiebreaker.
And I know, from conversations in the household, they had looked at the structure every way possible, and so when you come down to it, it's how many games did you win or lose, and how many sets did you win or lose, how many tiebreakers, and it finally comes down to count up points.
Who drank less water?
Yeah. So congratulations to both teams.
Oh yeah. And congratulations. We said it yesterday, but congratulations to the Lady Eagles who did claim the title, and of course the Harvest boys who were so close. But the Friars, they're good. 4 years in a row. That's
the girls. They allowed no victories from anybody that they faced.
9-0, I think.
This is not a new program for them. This has been around for a couple of years there, and they're really seeing some success with the girls tennis program at Harvard. So I'm absolutely delighted for all of the different teams that are out there. Tennis is such a great sport. I played tennis when I was in high school, middle school, and I wish I was as good today as I think I was then.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was actually pretty good. And then, I got Mason in the house, and I realized that this is one of those cases, like when he surpassed me in his math skills. I just got to put your hands back and say, okay, kid.
You got it.
Go for it. Go for it.
Serena's returning to the court, too, as well, on some national sports. After,
nice.
She had her baby,
Yeah.
within the last few months. But, yeah, she's going to return next month or so, within the next month, whenever the season gets started.
And so you're going to be running in the Rainbows race tomorrow?
The Rainbows race?
Rainbows for all children. Not a 5K. This is a 3.5-mile race.
No. I did not know.
We'll hand
Do you have this here?
I have the information for you. Sign up at Hornet. It's only $10 today, $15 tomorrow.
Okay.
This is one of the big news. There's another race, and if I had thought about it, I would have gotten Manny or somebody on the line from the Guam Running Club. This weekend is the annual running of the Gate to Gate.
The Big Navy to Anderson?
Yeah, and technically it's not a race. We don't put up the big clock. And so just a note for drivers, if you are going to be on Marine Corps Drive between Anderson Air Force Base and Naval Base in Sumai, please be on the lookout for motorists, for runners. Many of them will be starting as early as 3:30 in the morning so that they can be done by the time the blazing hot sun comes up.
What's that distance from gate to gate?
I want to say it's about 23 miles.
Wow. So
About 23
little
miles.
short of a marathon?
In fact, we use it for a training marathon.
Okay.
I will be using it for training run for the United Guam International
UGM
Marathon.
coming
Yeah,
up.
but I'm not running the whole thing. I've already run a marathon this year.
That's right.
I'll be using it to time how many runners go past me as I drink a beer.
Well, I haven't yet talked to you about ways that you might be able to help me. I need to park my car in a Ganya and then hitchhike up to Anderson and then run to the car and then do some support work for some friends that will be running the whole thing. But again, please be on the lookout for everybody. Most folks will be wearing fluorescent clothes and blinkers and things like that. But it's a big deal. We call it the Gate to Gate, and it is in honor of Johnny Gerber. And
I was going to say that's in honor of Mr. Gerber, right?
Right.
Who did with the cart? He had the Carabao cart.
The Carabao cart, and he pulled the cart from Navy up to Anderson, if I remember the story right. And that's what we like to refer to as the hard way, because it's mostly uphill in that direction.
Right.
And so every year the Gate to Gate goes in different directions. This year we're doing it the easy way, Anderson Air Force Base down to Sumai.
So downhill.
Yeah. Next year we'll be going in the opposite direction.
There you go. Shout out to the Gerbers too. They stayed just down the road from me in Chalampago.
Nice.
Ordot,
What a great family.
They really
great,
are.
and
so
what,
nice.
What great contributions Johnny made to the Marine community, the military community. And I've got to say it. He's between him and my old man. That's why I got into radio. Anyway, 8:29 in the morning. Anything else that anybody needs to know before we get into?
Yes. Originally, Pink Floyd was going to score Caddyshack, but Harold Ramis decided against it. That's all I got.
That's it.
That's it. That's it.
Caddyshack.
I told you yesterday I was going to say it. That was my one thing about Caddyshack is that Pink Floyd was supposed to score the movie, but Harold Ramis thought against it. And
I cannot hear Caddyshack in my head
and they went with Kenny Loggins.
without Kenny Loggins.
And they went with Kenny Loggins, who, by the way, follows your nephew on Twitter. I don't know if you know that.
Get out.
He does.
House.
It's a true story.
Some smells funny in Pooh Corner. All right, Blake, I'll talk to you pretty soon.
Have a good weekend.
I sure will. Time to take our last. Is it our last look at traffic? Well, it depends. If there's any more traffic, I'll come back and take a look at it. But as usual, as you might imagine, coming out of Dededo is going to be a little bit of a problem. And no major stirs that I'm aware of, accidents or overturned, beer trucks or armored cars with quarters spilling out of them. But you are going to see some congestion in some of the usual spots. As I said, Route 3 northbound on Marine Corps Drive, turning into Route 3 is a little bit snagging. Still got a little bit of a snag in front of the Dededo Sports Complex that I cannot attribute to breakfast over at King's. Your mileage may vary. Marine Corps Drive, right up until you get to St. John's, is also kind of yuck this morning, and because it's Friday, I'm be at 8:30 in the morning, and then this is unusual traffic from the Archbishop Circle towards St. Anthony School. Looks like you might see a little bit of a delay moving through there. Wow, what's happening in East Agania? Look at that from about where. Wow, just after a Lupang Beach Tower towards Hagutnya. I got a big long line of traffic down there. Hey, listen, if you're stuck in front of that or you're near the front of that, let me know what it is. Is somebody get a fender bender through there? 888-8255 is the number. It's 8:30 in the morning and time for our last look at headlines. Coming up with Kevin Kerrigan.
Subway's got your fresh choices for Lent. Sink your teeth into the classic tuna or indulge in the mouth-watering greatness of our seafood sensation. Or try our tasty Veggie Max, a delicious vegetarian patty free of artificial colors and flavors. All our subs are served on freshly baked bread paired with vegetables, cut fresh daily in restaurants, and sauces that are sure to excite your taste buds. Visit any of our convenient locations today at Subway. Fresh is what we do.
Security Title is honored to join in sponsoring Ray Gibson on The Point. Hafiday, my name is Jesse Cruz from the village of Maina, and this is where I start my day, listening to the voices of our community and sharing thoughts about issues that affect all of us. It all boils down to our people and our land. Protehi Tanomo, protect your land. When it comes to your family land, remember to call the professionals at Security Title, just like you call Ray Gibson in the morning.
Half a day and good morning. Guam News Time here at The Point is 33 minutes past 8 a.m. In the news from the Guam Daily Post this morning, the trial of Raymond Martinez and Juanita Moser gets underway at District Court in a few minutes. The couple were arrested in June 2015. They're charged with conspiring to distribute methamphetamine on island. Martinez and Moser allegedly found in possession of 8 pounds of crystal meth in California, intended to be shipped here to Guam during a sting operation involving former Guam Customs Officer Henry Alvendia, who was cooperating with federal authorities. The defense, however, counters that there were serious flaws with that sting operation that took place in California and with the government's use of Alvendia as a cooperating witness. Opening arguments getting underway right now over at the district court. The attorney for a man who shot his friend in the neck after an argument over burnt rice said yesterday that his client and the government couldn't agree on a plea agreement. Judge Michael Bordallo yesterday set a pretrial conference date for Clifford San Nicolas on March 22nd, after San Nicolas's attorney, John Terlahi, told the court that no agreement could be reached with the AG's office. The Guam Supreme Court overturned San Nicolas's murder conviction, ruling that the lower court had failed to ensure that jurors did not have access to media reports about the case. In January 2013, San Nicolas got into an argument with his girlfriend, Valine Borja, shot her in the neck. Borja was paralyzed from the neck down and died a year later. Finally, the 4 Department of Corrections officers notified of their temporary suspensions following the murder of Ernst Manson aren't planning to immediately appeal the proposed adverse action against them. The decision to defer the appeals came after a closed-door meeting between the officers and DOC Director Tony Lamarena, who has told the media that he'll let the officers know when their suspensions will take effect. GFT Union Representative Robert Koss says the officers told him they want the media attention to die down before pursuing an appeal, but Koss says he's got reservations about that because the law requires that there be a date certain set for any adverse action. Manson was found dead in his cell in December at the Agana lockup. He'd been beaten to death. 7 fellow detainees have been charged with his murder. For these stories and more, log on to postguam.com or pick up a copy of today's Guam Daily Post.
You're going to take off and go to your grown-up job, right?
Yes.
That's the plan here. At your grown-up job, you said you conducted a survey among folks over at the legislature on the part-time legislature?
We did, and 6 of the senators responded.
Did they? So only 6 responded. Was there a consensus among the 6? What did they say? Yes, no?
Well, I can print some of those out for you. How about that?
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Online poll at thepoint.com, a part-time legislature, has garnered 90% of the votes there. Only 10% say a full-time body would keep Adelup in check. 90% again say a part-time legislature cheaper and less opportunities for mischief. And you can put comments on that as well. The comment from at least one of the voters this morning, if we get a part-time legislature, could we also get a part-time governor? I think the problems we're having with our government all boil down to honesty, enforcement, and maintenance, which is like keeping your promise and needs enforcement. Thanks very much. Always nice to be able to find another venue, another vehicle for people to be able to make their point. On the point. Let's see. 8:36 is iConnect time. Connect longer for less with iConnect's push-to-talk mobile and great internet plans.
At Micronesia Renewable Energy, values matter. So all of their solar energy systems come with guarantees and the most value. No shortcuts, all quality. It's giving you that solar energy system at the best price. It's using highly efficient solar panels with typhoon-proven racking, built by highly skilled local technicians, so your system performs and saves you money. It's total peace of mind all the time. Not all solar companies are created equal. For experienced quality solar, it's MRE. Call 632-2613. MRE, the smarter choice.
Relax, enjoy, and be greeted by the spectacular view of Hagåtña Bay when you visit the Point at the Sheraton Laguna Guam. Gaze into the beautiful sunset as you unwind to the music of Philip Garcia and Natasha on Wednesdays, Mama Shar and Nina on Thursdays, Philip Garcia and Luis Muñoz on Fridays, and Jack Larimer on Saturdays. Open daily from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Happy hour from 5 to 8 p.m. with all cocktail drinks for $7. Receive a discount when you present your SPG card. Call Peter Yaban at 646-2222 for reservations at the Point at the Sheraton Laguna Guam Resort.
You didn't have to turn it down. I'm not digging this. Is the obligatory 2-minute non-copyrighted music
That's
that
right.
comes out of the commercial
But it's
breaks
close. It's close.
Into the program. Yeah, like I said, get that Let's Go House of Blues and have ourselves some fun. Hey, miss a morning, miss a lot. Miss a minute, miss a lot. Earlier today had just a great time with Brad Rosala, who is one of the bright lights up in CNMI. up in Saipan. A ton of jobs that he's had up there, and has been a go-to guy for all kinds of questions. They get bad weather up there, I call him. He's my guy. If there's a hard news story that needs somebody to be able to take it through and do the splains, he's pretty good at that. But he's also was there in the tough times in Saipan, and it looks like with the results of having a pretty big partner in the community in this casino that they've got there, that they're also making a lot of overtures to the community, and folks seem to be happier up there as a result. Now, I'm not saying that that's what we've got to do here. I'm just saying that maybe there's a conversation that we ought to revisit, as the governor had proposed right here in the station just a couple of weeks ago. Some of his ideas can be found on another piece of legislation that was sent out with some revenue enhancements down there. But the horns of the dilemma now at the legislature have to do perhaps with finding that compromise, a short enforcement period of a smaller increase in the BPT, and maybe that's going to work. Cy, what do you think?
Well, morning, Ray. First off, I want a full-time life with part-time problems.
Wow, we're almost there. We're almost there. So one of my favorite things, and it only happens for just a short amount of time, is it'll be a Saturday or a Sunday morning, I don't know, 8 o'clock, 10 after, something like that, and I will be running down the hill of John F. Kennedy, and Simon will be running up the hill towards the mobile oasis that we've got up there, and that's one of those times that we see each other, that we're not going to talk about anything that has anything to do with the government or the economy or good times or bad times. It's great to see an old friend taking care of himself.
And the first thing we say is, are we still breathing?
Are we still making this? I've never seen a brown guy turn so red from huffing and puffing up the hill. But
I had to chuckle one time. I was running up the hill, and John Beneventi saw me from GPA, saw me that morning, and he saw me that night. Hey, I saw you walking up that hill. I said, I wasn't walking, I was running. Did it look that slow?
Sorry, Commissioner. Sorry about that, Commissioner.
But, that's a great segue to why I called in. We've all gone through this, where we're told by healthcare professionals and people that to say, look, you need to eat wiser. You got to watch what you eat. You got to exercise more. You should stop smoking. You stop drinking. Watch your blood pressure. All these things that we should be doing, and that's one reason that from time to time we see each other running out there.
Yeah, I don't go to that doctor. I'm just frankly chasing my wife. That's the only reason why I'm out there.
Well, one, you are chasing your wife, and that's good, and she's very fast, and very beautiful, and worth chasing. But you would be the first to admit, and we've had this conversation before, there was a time where you weren't watching your health and you weren't active as you are now, and then you made a commitment to do that. You said, it's time for me to make a change, and the blessings that have come to you that I've witnessed just as your friend over the years are spectacular, and it was a good decision for you. And so here's our government, right? We've been saying for years, we need to downsize, we need to reorg, we should do the sales tax, we should do this, and all the things that we should be doing. But then the Trump tax cut intervenes, you get a heart attack or you have shortness of breath, and all of a sudden you're in the hospital. And everyone is saying, you need to watch what you eat. You need to do all those things we've been saying we should have done. The woulda, coulda, shoulda list, right? But at that time, when you're in triage, the doctors there need to stabilize you. You all those lifestyle changes that the government needs to do, that people like us as individuals have done, those can't be done while you're in triage. Those become the list that says, you may have cancer or you may have a heart problem, but after I stabilize you, go see your doctor and go find the cures and make the lifestyle change that will make your life better. And we're at that crossroads now, I believe, and I hope, where we need to deal with the triage of GovGuam's fiscal crisis. And I'm with Tom, and I think it was you or Tom that summarized it best. The number crunchers at OPA, the legislature, and the governor office all agree that there's going to be a significant impact. And when I talk to smart people I trust, like Joe Arnett and Bob Steffi, they're nodding their head that there's going to be a revenue impact. So this idea that this is all make-believe, I'm not sure that's right either. I think the fiscal patient needs triage, so you got to do something in the immediate term but then you can't lose your focus on actually making the changes, or else you're going to be back in the hospital, in the fiscal hospital, with the same problem, except now it's going to be down the road, and it could be even worse. And you just relive the same headache you're at.
Right.
So I'm hoping when you heard my testimony back on Senator Rodriguez's bill. It was a smaller increase. It was time limited. It had to expire, and the idea was this gets you the small increase now gets you the triage, but you must make a fundamental change in your life. And I appreciate people like Bob Clifty, who's just banging on that you got to make the change. And he's thrown out some really, really interesting ideas. And now everyone's throwing out ideas. But all the ideas that are being thrown out now are part of the lifestyle change that won't solve your problem overnight, but you must commit to. And so I think it's a two-step process we're going through now. Stabilize the financial patient, and then figure out what are you going to do. I mean, if it's not, the 32-hour work week has illustrated that, there's problems in just furloughing and putting people on 32 hours.
Well, it's a 90-day problem, as a matter of fact, and so that's not even going to take us to cover the paydays that we have in front of us now. So obviously there's going to be some amount of frantic searching around to make sure that we can cover those checks between now and if they're still going to do the furlough when that will eventually occur. So I think there is that need for the compromise, and as you point out, the agreement between the governor's office and the legislature finally on, okay, let's do this thing with the BPT, but this number for this long.
But the furlough should be really the precursor to a very stringent discussion once and for all in reorganizing the government of Guam. And what I brought up in my testimony was you have the short-term opportunity now to do some things, but you're in triage. But there's another opportunity called the budget. And I heard in the back and forth between the governor and the legislature that, he at least was open to this idea that maybe you do something that only takes you up to budget 19, which has to be decided upon this summer. And that's when you really reorganize the government and make a commitment to a lifestyle change at GovGuam to get us to a much more efficient government and do the things that we said we would do. And there is that opportunity. And I hope our governor and legislature work better together in the blame shifting, because, as a former senator, I'm sitting there going, yes, the governor has the power to reorganize, but the legislature has the power to appropriate or deappropriate. And they shouldn't just say it's only your fault, only you come up with a plan. Senators are elected to also make policy, and that includes reorganizing the government. So it should be a two-way conversation involving both branches. And the budget 19 gives, doing it now in March is harder. But if you work on it now till you pass the budget on September 30th, you have some time to actually once and for all, let's do this thing. But having said all of that, I wanted to throw this out, and I'm glad Senator Abbott called in earlier because I had talked with him briefly. Two ideas that he alluded to and I wanted to speak on, and one was the sales tax. In the 25th Guam legislature, I tried to pass a sales tax, move us from gross receipts tax, BBT, to a sales tax, and it was going to be a 6% tax, but it would exempt food and medicine.
My kind of guy.
We had back, and the exemption of food and medicine is pretty standard for those communities that do exempt it.
Right.
Many communities exempt it. Hawaii doesn't exempt it. Okay, that's a policy call. But the challenge for us was you couldn't figure out what the exemptions would cost you in revenue. And, of course, we need every penny we can get, right? So it didn't go anywhere. I know Senator Esteves now has an idea to try to do the same thing, although I think his rate is 6% with exemptions. I know Senator.
Well, you said yours was 6% as well. Was yours only 4?
Correct. No, mine was 6 with exemptions. I think Senator Esteves is the same because, as you know,
no, his is 6 with exemptions. Yes.
Right. The structure aside, you still got to argue about is it going to be a 4, a 5, or a 6? Whether it's a sales with exemption, whether it's a sales without exemption, whether it's a BBT. Is it going to be a 4, a 5, or a 6? That seems. I haven't heard anybody propose 7, and I haven't heard anybody propose 3. So that seems to be the range of guessing at this point. And structure is sales versus continuing what we have. And I wanted to offer a third alternative, which is what Hawaii did. And we've looked at this before. The reason there's a interest in the sales tax from the chamber and myself is to make the tax visible so taxpayers know what's going to the vendor and what's going to the government.
Yes.
But when you make it visible, you also allow yourself to begin the process that if you want to start exemptions, the fact that it's visible will help you do that. If you want to tax internet sales, the fact that it's a visible tax will help you do that. None of those can happen overnight, but the one thing that you could probably do very quickly would be to move the BBT GRT to a visible BBT GRT, just like Hawaii did. I mean, we copied the GRT from California and Hawaii. Now, then Hawaii migrated to an excise tax, but it's just a visible GRT on retail. And I think it's an optional visible GRT on non-retail. So people like DFS, the duty-free people have an option. But it's pretty much, you go to Long's Drug, you go to a restaurant in Hawaii, you see that percentage. And, and it's 6-8% as you're seeing around the world. You know, we're arguing between 4 and 6, right? But it's visible. And you don't have to explain to the business community the GRT. We already know how it works. We now just make it visible on our cash registers, which, you know, with technology today, that's just another button.
Yeah, and you just change it from sales tax to, and you actually call it visible BPT.
The name is irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's sort of the same. A sales tax and a visible GRT are the same, but a sales tax creates uncertainty, like for the bondholders. They're going to go, now you're creating a sales tax, now it's 6%, now you got exemption. How am I sure that I'm going to get paid as you promised to me, GovGuam, when you borrowed all this money? And I don't agree with some people that think it's, that's going to be easy to get bondholder approval. The bonds are bought by institutions, and then they resell it to thousands of people.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to get all those people to approve it. It's too complicated. A visible GRT is still the GRT. It's just visible. It's easy to assess. It's easy to collect. It's easy to implement if you're a business, and you're finally disclosing to the customer what that rate your government is taking from your groceries.
Well, that's an interesting idea.
So that's one. I think that would be simpler to do, and it still keeps your options open for itemizing deductions down the road. It allows you to start talking about internet tax, but you're not bringing in a whole new tax regime with new rules, new regs, new
everything. Yeah,
you're just doing one simple thing. So I've always liked that. Keep it simple, Simon. And I think that may be a better approach. And unfortunately, I might not be here next Thursday, Friday for the testimony on those hearings. I just wanted to throw that out to my chamber friends, throw it out to the leadership that's listening to consider a visible GRT like Hawaii. And again, you don't have to look very far. Just look at Hawaii's laws. It's real.
Yeah. Now, what was the other idea?
The second idea, and Tom alluded to it, I think it was in the Post stories, and because I spoke to him yesterday about it. We have from time to time declared tax amnesty for folks that they know they owe taxes, but they got these huge penalties, they got this huge interest, and they had enough trouble paying the tax, much less the interest and penalty. But if they show their face, they get whacked with interest and penalties, and they therefore stay away from being taxed. If we did a tax amnesty that just waived the interest and the penalties and said, look, you just pay the taxes you should have paid. I'll forgive this other stuff, but you get back in the tax fold. You start reporting. You start paying. It would raise revenue right now without raising any income.
What do you think the number is on that, Si?
I think if it's aggressively pursued and done well, I think you could be looking at $15 to $30 million. That could flow in over the next 6 months, and you haven't even touched the rate. And from in the list of things we want to do at GovGuam, one of them has been to make sure the tax base is paying the taxes, and bring those that are in the tax base that are not paying the taxes, bring them into the fold. And this is one way to do it, because once they come in and pay, you now have them on record as well, and you can keep tracking them, and you have another linkage to that business that right now is hidden to rev and tax. They don't know that, Simon Sanchez Inc. owes $20,000, but $20,000 in penalties. And I want to come good. I have a good friend who got ill. He had to do 4 years of GRT, but he was terrified because of the penalties, right? And if we can just say, look, just pay what you're supposed to. Let's put it this way: whatever cash you would get out of it is more than
it's found money. Yeah, I'm just trying to remember how successful they have been in that. I want to say, didn't they try that a few years ago?
They've done it, and I need to talk to my colleague Joey Duenas when he was Reverend Tax Director. But in talking to Bob Steffi and some others, he was the one that reminded me about that idea. And he said the only thing he might have done differently was, I think they did the amnesty to include current year taxes.
Yeah.
And his suggestion was, no, make it 2016 and earlier. This is past due taxes. Your 17 taxes are due now. You're going to file it on April, right? Those you got to pay. I'm sorry. But everything you owed prior to that, if you come in now, we'll waive the penalties, we'll waive the interest, get in here, you're forgiven. Going forward, please pay your taxes.
Yeah, not so much. So the only concern that I have with that is I think you need to, and you and I've talked about carrot and stick mentality in the past. I think the amnesty is a good idea, and I'm certainly not going to turn up my nose at the possibility that we might be able to get some receivables that we've been unable to do before. But I think there needs to be this tax amnesty goes from here to here. After which point we are going to send investigators and begin a pain in the butt enforcement process. So if you are owing us, you better make it right with Jesus, or there's going to be trouble.
Absolutely, and that was a key point. Thank you. It is a limited time. Hey, this is a one-time offer. You got 90 days, 120 days. I'd make it short because you need the money.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that, then if we come down on you, there will be no forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And my understanding was when it was done under the Gutierrez administration, they did get a chunk of change. I mean, you could argue that they might have gone too far, but at least they went and tried it. Right? They may have included one more tax year than others might have suggested, but I mean that's a nuance. But the key is if you owe anything from prior years, let's at least get you in the barn. Let's get that money in the barn, but you only got a limited time, or else if and when we catch you, then there will be no forgiveness, and now you're really at risk.
And interest and penalties will apply. So the point, I want to go back to something that you said initially, and it is a commitment. You know, you and I, we take care of ourselves because we love our families and we love our lives and want to make them as long as we possibly can. So when the doctor says you have to do this, or just you get that sense that you've got to do this, you got to commit to it. And so different diet and exercise is a level of commitment, as anybody that's ever done it before knows. So how do we ensure that the government remains committed to all of these plans? And I'd love to say put it in statute, but you know that the government is fond of using the notwithstanding clause. How do we keep everybody's feet in the proverbial fire?
Well, I think one, you have to keep talking and yelling and advocating, and I think now you're seeing a lot of advocacy come out one way or the other. But the other thing, and this is where I was pleasantly surprised when Senator Klitzky and I testified on Dennis Rodriguez's bill, we both had the same thinking, that whatever you do in terms of any tax increase has to be sunset. Because you want to put the pressure on that, hey, I'm going to help you right now. I'm going to triage you. I'll get you out of this right now. Mm-hmm. But you must make a commitment. And by the way, the medicine I've given you, it stops in 6 months, 3 months, you know, whatever they can get to, and then you're going to have to do it yourself.
Yeah, because otherwise, as one of my astute listeners points out, otherwise you might have to do something a little bit that's got some, I don't know, you've got to put some penalty in there. Otherwise, people will only wait until there's a fiscal crisis to pay their taxes. They go, I don't need to do anything. I just wait until the government's broke again, and I can get away with using the money, interest, and penalty free.
Yeah, but this time you're imposing on yourself the fiscal crisis. You're saying, I'm going to get some help for 6 months, 3 months. I proposed 2 years. That's probably too long. But I wanted my concept was the current governor and legislature locked themselves into a commitment to make these changes by passing something that expires, a tax increase that expires. And the next governor and legislature, they're going to have to stand up in front of all of us and say, you know, that 6 that's now going down to 4, that 5 that's now going back to 4, here's my reasons why it can't do that. And they're going to have to own that decision. And meanwhile, we're going to say, what happened to reorg? What happened to downsizing? What happened to restructuring? What happened to sales tax? What happened to all these things that we said we would do? What happened to exercise? What happened to eating? Mm-hmm. What happened to all those things? The medicine ends in X at a period of time. And that's about in a democracy, unfortunately, that's about the best you can do. You elect people who promise to do things, and then you get to keep them or throw them out if they don't keep their promises. And by having a self-imposed expiration, then you force the next governor and legislature to revisit the commitment of the current governor and legislature and say, are we committed to lowering back the tax and improving our health.
It's just tricky to do sometimes. As you know, it's tricky to do. We'll move on to the next thing. I do want to let you know that there's a lot of interaction going on while you're talking. From John, your triage analogy doesn't wash. Triage is done to save an injured patient, not a drug addict. Before you can treat a drug addict, you have to first wean him off of those bad habits. And another note that goes...
Drug addict in one day. You can wean a drug addict in 30 days or 60 days.
Yeah.
And I mean, this to me is more, you have all these bad symptoms and your leg just fell off. So you've got to stabilize the leg and figure out how are you going to stand again and change your lifestyle. But regardless, I still think all the solutions being offered don't provide immediate relief. And drug addict, or whether you're heart attack or your leg's falling off, the woulda, coulda, shouldas don't give you immediate relief, but they're critical to your long-term recovery.
All right. Last thing from the emailers here. It was law at one time, this visible GRT. Good idea compared to creating a whole new tax regime with the cost of administration and enforcement, more employees, more counter space over at the Department of Revenue and Taxation. So it's going in both directions. You've got people that will make a point about some of the points that you're bringing up, and some people love them, and some people want to talk some more about it. And that's what we do around here. Guess what, Simon? It's already 9 o'clock.
Great. Have a great weekend. Hopefully we'll see you on the road. Stay healthy. And good luck to our governor and senators. They need to move smartly and quickly.
We'll be watching. I'll see you pretty soon.
Thanks. Bye.
That's the amazing and incredible Simon Sanchez. Always got a couple of good points and in some cases an interesting view of the situation. You want to talk about them? You're welcome to. We'll open up the phone lines even wider in the next hour of the program. It's 9 o'clock now, and in seconds we'll go back to the network and find out what's happening in the minds of the guys over at Fox Radio News. On the other side of that, I'd love to say Kevin Kerrigan with some more headlines, but he's already going to his grown-up job, so it's just going to be you and I in the next hour of the program. So I hope you stick around for some of that. Participate if you like. 888-8255. We're KUSG. I got ya.
A sell-off on Wall Street. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The Dow dropped 420 points. The Nasdaq lost 92. The S&P off 36.
Markets have been spooked recently about higher interest rates and inflation. But today, when President Trump said that import tariffs will be in place for aluminum 10%, steel 25%, well, that spooked the market. And there were worries about a trade war and that names like Boeing and Caterpillar would have to pay more for raw materials. Boeing finished down 3.5%. Caterpillar dropped 2.8%.
Nicole Petalini's with the Fox Business Network. White House spokeswoman Sarah Sanders.
I don't know that the president will or should ever apologize for protecting American workers, and certainly not to Senator Sass.
Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have come out against those tariffs. Georgia lawmakers punishing Delta Airlines for cutting ties with the NRA. Fox's Steve Rappaport has more live.
Lisa, the Georgia legislature passed a sweeping tax bill today, but stripped the provision exempting jet fuel from sales taxes. Delta would have benefited the most from that exemption. Instead, the Atlanta-based airline will pay a price for ending its discount program with the NRA. Republican Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle led the effort to kill the tax break. He's running for governor this year. Outgoing Governor Nathan Deal criticized the dispute as an unbecoming squabble, but says he'll sign the tax measure regardless. Several companies stopped doing business with the gun rights group after the Florida high school mass shooting. Lisa?
Steve, from the Mid-Atlantic to New England, people bracing for a nor'easter expected to bring high winds, heavy rain, and even a foot of snow in some spots.
Do not ride out the storm in your home if you are told to evacuate.
Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker, he has called up 200 National Guard troops in advance of the storm. Fox News, fair and balanced.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby has those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, buckle up.
Michaela's such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is like busy, you know? I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
A Massachusetts man under arrest for sending white powder and threatening notes to 5 people last month.
The envelopes were all mailed from Boston, including one addressed to the president's oldest son in New York.
Mr. Trump's wife opened the envelope, which contained the white powder. She was exposed to it, and as a result, she was taken to an area hospital for examination.
U.S. Attorney Andrew Lelling in Boston, that powder turned out to be cornstarch. A typed note calling Trump Jr. an awful, awful person said, "I am surprised that your father lets you speak on TV. You make the family idiot, Eric, look smart." The suspect, Daniel Frisiello, is also accused of sending powder to Michigan Senator Debbie Stabenow, a federal attorney in California, a Stanford University professor, and the actor and congressional candidate Antonio Sabato Jr. Chris Foster, Fox News.
The administration plans to sell 210 anti-tank missiles to Ukraine to help it defend itself against Russia. The State Department telling Congress it plans to approve the $47 million sale. Congress has 30 days to block the sale, but is not expected to do so. California at the bottom of a list in terms of quality of life.
Dead last in terms of quality of life. Homelessness surging 75% in the last 6 years. 1/3 of renters in the Los Angeles area labeled as severely rent burdened. Such is the situation in the Golden State, where U.S. News ranked it worst in the nation in terms of quality living. The magazine writing a person's quality of life is largely the result of their interactions with those around them, not just a healthy environment, which California is known for, except the smog, that is. So which is the state where you can live your best life? Iowa, because of its infrastructure and health care. Derek Dennis, Fox News.
PBS taking a look at Harvey Weinstein in a new Frontline special. The show titled Weinstein airs tomorrow, 2 nights before the Academy Awards. Filmmakers speak to 2 men who worked with him and focuses on how the alleged misconduct went on for so long. Lisa Lacera, Fox News Radio.
Chili's has the seafood you crave, the flavors you love, at a great price with our 3 for Me Lent menu. For just $15, you can get a beverage, fresh salad, and a Lent-friendly entree. First, choose from a refreshing Coca-Cola, iced tea, or Heineken on draft. Then enjoy a fresh house salad right before you indulge in your choice of a mouth-watering entree, like our spicy shrimp tacos, savory Cajun pasta with shrimp, or our flavorful grilled ancho salmon. Chili's 3 for Me Lent menu for just $15. Available for a limited time. Chili's, more life happens here.
I got you. 4 after 9, and portions of the program brought to you by, who's this? King's Restaurant, serving Guam's families and favorites for over 40 years. King's Restaurant, always open and always local.
We have those moments in our lives that happen unpredictably. The unexpected instances that we did not really need. Now you can count on us to stay well, Papa, to live well, Papa, to stay well, making sure you stay well. Oh, we'll lift you up when times are low. I'll see how far we'll go, and stay well.
Stay Well Insurance. See how far we'll go.
I think that's a good answer there. Our portions of the program, I love talking about these guys because they are among my favorite holders of a couple of checking accounts I'm very familiar with. First Hawaiian Bank. It all starts with yes.
When the power goes out on Guam, the little things can become surprisingly big. Small comforts are often the things we miss most during a power outage. That is why Kohler built the fastest responding generator sets in the industry. Whether you are at home or away, a residential Kohler generator will enable you and your family to live life without interruption. Kohler gas, LPG, and diesel power systems are available from Morrico Equipment LLC on Epal Road. Call 649-1946. That's 649-1946.
For over 55 years, Community First has served our island as a full-service financial institution. And now, we're proud to introduce the new Community First Student-Run Credit Union, open in Manilao on Route 10, Guam's first student-run financial institution, which means it's operated by college students like us, ready to serve all our members, existing and new. We're just down the road from UOG and GCC. Community First Guam Federal Credit Union, now open in Manilao. This credit union is federally insured by NCUA.
The Ray Gibson Show, your new News Talk headquarters. Call now, 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
There's an outfit called Breadsmith, and they make chocolate chip cookies. Did you know? And something I've learned. I try to learn something new every day, and a whole other thing at least once a year. I try to get myself into a position where I'm learning something down the road that will help me. And so I'm looking at this thing from a list of stories that are just interesting. Chocolate chip cookies are measured like produce. There's a standard container to weigh per pound. And they look at it like chocolate chips. They count. The average number of chocolate chip cookies you see at the grocery store are probably 1,000 little chocolate chips per pound. And at Breadsmith, they have 4,000 chocolate chips per pound. So when you bite into a chocolate chip cookie from these guys, it's mostly chocolate chip.
Just a little bit of cookie.
Yeah, right? It's just use the dough to keep the chips together.
So they don't melt away, man.
Nice, nice. How do we get that?
It's like a small chocolate chip plate.
I wanted to go over, and I will in just a few minutes. I promised myself I would go through the procedures section K of Appendix H. And if you are a Government of Guam employee, full-time, part-time, LTE, classified, unclassified, this applies to you. And there are a couple of leaps that I can make from some of these procedures that have to take place. And I will when I get a chance. Simon Sanchez in the last hour of the program, ruminating, if you will, on a couple of points that seem to capture about where we are right now. There was a conversation about Bill 245. It's dead. They voted it, and they voted it down. And then there was a conversation about sales taxes. And it is interesting, a topic as it is, I don't know if now is the time to do it in the midst of this crisis to change things out. But there is also a conversation that Tom Atta and I had this morning where he says maybe we'll just pick up 245 again and do a Lazarus on it, make a couple of significant amendments, and then move forward with it. And then afterwards, spend the time on revenue enhancements that we've talked about, cost containment that Bob Klitsky has talked about, and things like changing out the way we do things with the business privilege tax. But all of those things will have to wait until we can make sure that we can keep the lights on in the government of Guam. So Simon referred to it as triage. In response, former Senator Bob Klitsky's on the line. Hey, how you doing there?
Hey, really good, Ray. I'm going to be a poor substitute for Kevin, but you'll just have to kind of bear with me for a few minutes. Okay?
That's okay, but I did want to make a remark here. You know, I consume all media on Guam, and I saw you on the Chris Barnett reports on KUAM last night and your comments about the Department of Corrections, and as usual, I thought you were spot on.
Well, thank you very much, Ray. What I wanted to talk about this morning was triage, as explained by Simon. And I've been to that same hospital that Simon spoke about allegorically, but I had a little different experience because I went in the front door and there was a sign that said, to the right that said triage, and to the left said long-term care. So I followed the sign that said long-term care, went around a couple corners, kind of went around the block, and wound right back up at triage. And the point I would urge on you is this, that we've seen nothing but triage for the last, ever since, right? We run into these emergencies, these crises, and we do a little triage, and we get us through the current crunch, and then we forget all about the reforms, the long-term care, et cetera, and I don't see anything that would cause me to think that we're going to do it any differently this time. So,
I said that at the end of the conversation with Simon when we started talking about commitments. We've got to decide as a people that this is what we're going to do, but we'll throw a notwithstanding clause in it, and then you're right. The next thing will come up, something shiny will happen, and we'll completely forget. I can show you reorganization plans that go back to when I first started doing talk radio in the first part of the new century.
absolutely. And, of course, whenever you start talking any kind of reorganization, special interests come crawling out of the woodwork of that hospital and do everything they can to keep us in that triage mode, because they see that as a particular kind of leverage that can be used to prevent the long-term care. I'll give you an example. As a consumer of all media, you might have noticed in yesterday's Daily News a paragraph on the Department of Education where John Fernandez said we have to consider whether the legislature will temporarily suspend the Adequate Education Act. So, you know,
and it's odd. You know, I saw that as the only place I saw that. I had a conversation with him and Mark Mendiola for an hour and a half the day before, and they didn't mention anything about suspension of something as critical as the Adequate Education Act.
One would think that has to be the one irreducible minimum, that no matter what, we're going to provide our children with an adequate public education. Layoffs, furloughs, et cetera, notwithstanding, and I think that's probably the way statutory construction would work. If you weigh the provisions of the adequate education against all of the things that have been put in place to pander to public employees,
right?
So that Senator X can stand up and say, I put this provision in that makes it impossible to lay you off, therefore vote for me. So if you run into one of those, I would think that the Adequate Education Act would trump. And if the director of the superintendent of education is not going to champion that act, then one has to wonder where the priorities are.
It's kind of the same as the Attorney General not standing up for the voters' approval of new taxes and new loans.
Well, the Attorney General, you know, I seldom find myself as the defender of the Attorney General. And this Attorney General relied on opinions that had been issued before she came along that hold it under the Organic Act. The taxation authority cannot be delegated with a referendum. Now, there is a workaround around that, Ray, and it's like this. The standing rule, the statute restricts bills that raise taxes to particular language. And if that language isn't in the bill, then the bill has to be sent back to the author. That section could be amended and talk in terms of advisory referendum. And then a statute that's on the books that talks about referendum just needs to be amended to read advisory. So we wind up with a statutory scheme that says no tax shall be increased until the expiration of 60 days following an advisory referendum on the tax. So you vote on the referendum in November. If it comes out 90 against and 10 in favor, the legislature's got a chance to fix it.
Right.
If that legislature doesn't fix it, then the one coming in January can fix it. So that's kind of the way we would hope our democracy functions. On the one hand, we want people who have principle, who will fight the tide sometimes, and on the other hand, we want people who are responsive to the electorate. That's not an easy balance to strike, but it could be done that way.
I got a note this morning from a mutual friend of ours that says, tough night to sleep, and maybe it is time to bring in the grown-ups, as he says. It's time to install a legislature with no re-election plans. This time, Guam needs a government made up of people willing to work evenings for no pay or benefits. We need experience. Those folks need to know about budgets, getting work done. Forget the parties, functions, and weddings, and public what do you call them, the legislative write-ups that you get if you're a nice guy, how things look in the paper, resolutions, and the optics of the newspaper and the television. Forget all of that stuff. They got to know how to hire dedicated people, hold them accountable for the people's times, and get in there and straighten it out. Because I honestly don't know if, especially coming into this new election, some of the names that I've seen of people sticking around and some of the names that are coming in, I don't hold out a whole lot of hope that we're going to have a whole lot of experience and brain power in the next legislature.
I would offer a grooming regulation as a condition of candidacy, Ray, and that is that unless you got a little gray hair, you can't run for the legislature.
And now you can see all kinds of people going out and getting themselves a new permanent and a dye job so that they could meet that particular requirement. Unfortunately, as you know and as you pointed out to me in the past, it's difficult to do that with the rules in the Organic Act.
Absolutely, you cannot add to the qualifications for office. The public, though, of course, can be sensitive to the fact that sometimes a little maturity goes a long, long way. Youth must be served, but there needs to be a balance also. So getting back, Ray, to the triage versus long-term care, this would require a little parliamentary acrobatics, but I would feel a lot better about the triage if it were part of a bill that provided for a long-term solution. Let's say we had a bill that kicked in at least some of the things necessary for a part-time legislature, and one section of that bill raised the GRT with a sunset. Or let's say that we had Frank Ogden's Government Priorities Act on the floor. It were amended to add that tax provision and passed. Now, as I say, you need some parliamentary acrobatics to do it, but 8 members could do it. And 10 members could make sure it's the law. I would feel a lot better then about the triage because as it is, I see
it's just money coming in and no cuts going out. I'm with you. I find myself kind of on the fence to a degree. I get it. I understand the nature of the problem, and I've heard the conversations coming from the governor's fiscal teams, and also as a taxpayer, I'm sensitive to what these additional costs are going to mean for me. But I also recognize that some of these great ideas and great plans are things that will take some time to net out. So there's a part of me that says, maybe we'll see what we can do about some kind of bridge financing until we get all of Bob Klitsky's great ideas in there, until we can get Frank's ideas in there, and all of these things that we think are going to be great for revenue enhancement and cost containment in there. I'm willing to give you a few months to do that. I'm not willing to give you a year. I'm not willing to give you 2 years because I am of the opinion, and I think you agree with this, that if we give everybody everything they want, we will never see any of the things that we want.
If we just enact a naked increase in tax to cover where we are right now, as in a few months, all of the long-term plans will go back to the circular file because, we don't need them anymore. So they need to be enacted now. They don't necessarily have to be effective tomorrow morning, but they need to become law as part of any attempted triage by increasing taxes.
I obviously don't disagree on that point at all. I just, I have been doing this and living here too long to know that's probably what's going to end up happening, despite our best efforts, unless we can find a way to provide those hard rails. And as you say, a little bit of parliamentary acrobatics in there might actually work, tying one topic to another. But it is still, as you point out, some acrobatics. And frankly, I don't know that they've got 8 people down there that understand what they would be doing.
Well, we have 4 people down there who don't even understand what a 4-year legislature would amount to. until the roll is called, and then they pass so they can try to figure out whether they're for it or not.
Uh-huh.
And we got three others that couldn't understand that part of the standing rules that said that a vote to report out only is not an affirmative vote. I couldn't understand that one. And then it's Espeldone's ethics matter.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. You said Espeldones. Did you mean Esteves?
No, I mean Espeldones.
Okay.
Esteves, but it was Esteves. Esteves, as the chairman of the committee, brought the resolution dealing with Senator Espeldones forward, although the ethics rules say you need 4 affirmative votes. He didn't have 4 affirmative votes. He had 1 and 3 report out only. And if you go to the rules, there's express language that says report out only is not an affirmative vote.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, so, there are those who would champion a full-time legislature because it's a full-time job. That's a hard sell for me because for so many, it's what we were talking about earlier, resolutions, marriages, funerals, going to the dead, posturing, etc. And all of that stuff that happens on the session floor is interesting, but it's not consequential.
I'm getting a lot of thumbs up and likes from the people that are watching the stream right now on Facebook, so they're digging what you've got to say. Senator, it's always a delight talking with you. We'll watch and see what the legislature does at 10 o'clock. Is this going to be a continuation, or will we see some kind of forward motion? As you pointed out, we've all heard from Senator Tom Atta. I thought Frank had some pretty interesting ideas in his legislation as well. And the only thing that I will say is whenever Dennis Rodriguez opens the mic, stop listening, because all he wants to do is kill the banking and insurance industries. He keeps trying to push Bill 230 like it's got some life in it. Yeah, that's just me. No, I'm pretty sure it's not just me, but I just needed to say it. Every time he brings it up, I just go, oh my God, there's that again. All right, Senator, I'll talk to you pretty soon. Have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you, Ray.
Okay, 888-8255. That's my telephone number here. That's funny. Rebecca Salazar on the stream says, I just passed by a senator walking and talking to you. Yeah, they do that. They do that, don't they? My buddy Richard Chan's on the line. Ray Souza on the mainland's got the radio going. There's Liel listening for her commercials. I got that coming up. My buddy Joe. Bob Kelly's in there chiming in from time to time. Amnesty, a good idea. We have too low property taxes. Should have some kind of a modest industry on or increase on that. There's going to be people. Trust me. We all say the same thing. Our property taxes are too low. For the kind of house that I'm living in, if I was living anywhere else in the country, I'd be paying about 5-6 times more than that in my real property tax. We brag about that. Hey, my property tax is so low, we should probably be paying more. Hey, guess what? Guys, shut up, because they're going to look at that, and at some point, somebody's going to go in there and do another valuation. And they're going to be basing it on numbers that will probably loosen your fillings when they finally come out. They've done a valuation recently, if you might recall. And I remember when that happened, there was, even as minor as it was for a lot of people, there's still people calling me up going, you got to be kidding. What is that?
Give them some time. They'll fix all those good feelings.
There's so and then there's other ways to have this conversation. I like the idea of the tax amnesty, although I get it. There are going to be people that will never pay their taxes because they know that the next time the government comes up, they'll be in tax amnesty. They'll be called back in and say, okay, I'll just pay it then. No interest, no penalties. Awesome. Thanks very much. So if you're going to do that, you need to be very, very clear that when you're done doing that, the guys over at Rev and Tax, Maria Benito, my prima, is going to be standing with a stack of subpoenas and paperwork from the government's lawyers that will pinch you for the money and the penalties and the interest that you didn't pay. So there we are. And I think that's where we're going to continue to have this disagreement. On triage, I think that's getting a lot of comments as well in the Facebooks and my WhatsApp. The idea that we've got to do the triage, stabilize the patient, as he says, and then and then try to fix the problem after the patient has stabilized. There's a lot of disagreement from among my listeners on exactly that point, which is, no, we've got to do everything at once. We've got to, if we're going to do an increase, make it small, make it short, and then immediately start with cutting the expenses of the government of Guam. Don't wait until so-called stabilization time. Well, the fact is, as I see it, and willing to get into the debate with you about it, the fact is that the biggest expenses in the government of Guam, because we can nickel and dime this. You might have heard Les Carlson saying that. We can nickel and dime this and make it so that nobody takes government vehicles home and turn in your government-paid cell phones and all of these things. They're good ideas. We'll do them eventually, but it won't make any difference now. The big difference is in manpower in the government of Guam. And until they're able to execute a legal furlough procedure, forget it. Just forget it. They ain't going to get anywhere near it. So and it's a process. Here it is. This is number one. I'm hearing myself. I'm saying this again the same way I said it years ago. Step number one. And unless we get past this, don't bother. A written 90-day notice that a furlough is planned must be issued to all employees, whether or not identified for furlough, in the department/agency. You want to fight about that? Okay. 90-day notice that a furlough is planned must be issued to all employees. There are over 11,000 employees in the government of Guam. Is this in the form of an email? Is this in the form of a WhatsApp from the boss? Or is this in the form of an actual piece of paper that has the actual employee's name on it that will go out to the actual employee? If I had to do this right now, I would. I don't believe, based on the law, as I think I understand it, I don't think I can just put something up on the bulletin board that says we're going to be doing a 32-hour work week. I don't think telling the media counts for it. I think there needs to be a registered piece of documentation that goes out, as it says, to all employees of the government of Guam. Probably should have written that on the back of all of the notices when the governor was telling everybody to show up for the public hearing.
They should put that on the toilet paper. Then you know they'll see it.
9:29 in the morning. We got to do a break? All right, fine. 9:29, incidentally, is iConnect time. Hop on over to iConnect and get a free gift and automatic entry to win an iPhone X or 10. Both with every new 12-month plan from now until Easter.
Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959, and they'll continue to be there for you in the years to come. Whether you're looking to get a personal loan for that summer vacation or paying off those long overdue bills, Family Finance has got you covered. Apply for a personal loan from $1,000 up to $3,500 by calling Family Finance in Hagåtña at 475-4545, Upper Tuon 647-5626, or in Dededo 633-4473. Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959.
At Micronesia Renewable Energy, values matter. So all of their solar energy systems come with guarantees and the most value. No shortcuts, all quality. It's giving you that solar energy system at the best price. It's using highly efficient solar panels with typhoon-proven racking, built by highly skilled local technicians, so your system performs and saves you money. It's total peace of mind all the time. Not all solar companies are created equal. For experienced quality solar, it's MRE. Call 632-2613. MRE, the smarter choice.
Sorry, I'm in love with that sound. 9:30 in the morning, and portions of the program also brought to you by Subway Eat Fresh. It's Lent time, and they like doing the Lent sandwiches because they're very, very good. You should be eating the tuna sandwiches there, even though it's not Lent, because they're good and they're good for you. There's also a thing there called the Veggie Max that we want you to try. Delicious vegetarian patty, free of artificial colors and flavors. Visit any of the convenient locations today at Subway. Fresh is what we do.
I'm a working mom and could really use more hours in my day. Thankfully, my non-electric Kinetico water treatment system has simplified my life. It's easier to clean my home with Kinetico conditioned water. No more scrubbing tubs or wiping water spots. Cleaners work better and last longer. And all the Kinetico drinking water we want is right here. No more lugging home bottled water. All this, and I'm saving money too, thanks to Kinetico.
American Water Tech. Smarter water. Better water. Call American Water Tech at 649-2301 or email info@americanwatertech.com.
Your place for Lent is at KFC. At KFC, you can be so good every day with the largest variety of seafood on Guam. Choose from our popcorn shrimp, fish fillet breaded shrimp, seafood salad and twister, the wasabi fish deluxe, or try the all-new shrimp and crab calaguin and twisters. And of course, we can't forget your favorite KFC's one and only original recipe chicken. This season, there's only one place for all your Lent favorites. KFC, it's finger licking good.
Portions of the program brought to you by... See, it could be anybody, right? Because we have been so blessed around here with folks coming in and saying, yes, I want to support this program. I like the way it sounds. And the guys over at Security Title, when we play their commercial, they actually say my name in the commercial, like Carl and Cousin Freddie did. Security Title, when you absolutely need confidentiality in your real estate transactions.
Triple J says yes. Zero down? Yes. 1.9% financing? Yes. Easy trade-in? Yes. No payments for 90 days? Yes. We'll have you saying yes, too, to these amazing deals, like our big boy truck, the Ford F-150 at only $242 per paycheck, or the top safety pick Mazda CX-5 Sport at only $194 per paycheck, or turn heads in the Mazda 3 Sport or the sleek and sophisticated Kia Soul, both for only $129 per paycheck. Visit us online at triplejguam.com. Some conditions apply. See dealer for details. Triple J, customers first.
I gotta find the numbers. I used to keep very, very good notes, and when I left my last job, I left them there because I got notes for the original Ray Gibson show that go back to about 2004 or 2005, and it should be fairly easy. One of the numbers that I want to get, maybe Vince knows. Vince, do you remember how much money Rev and Taxes made on these amnesties that we get ourselves into every once in a while?
I think about 67 million. The exact amount that we need to keep this government afloat.
You're a funny guy. You're a funny guy. Hey, I hate your phone. Can you do me a favor and jump off the Bluetooth and pick up the handset?
Yeah, got it. Sorry about that. Is this better?
Oh, it's much better, Doc. How you been?
Good, and I'm so glad you're back on the air. Obviously, my wife has been a fan, and you mentioned her name the other day, so she was so thrilled. I think everybody's thankful that you're back on the air because it's scary times, is it not, Ray? This is why you came back, right?
This is do I have to answer that out loud? Yes. Yes, it absolutely is. Without getting into too many of the details on the business, I have become increasingly concerned that there is not the kind of town hall that I wanted to see on the radio. The radio has always been a good place to have this in the morning, and I think the conversation in the last couple of years since I started, being a little bit more behind the scenes, I think the conversation had gone into blather. We weren't talking about the things that are important, and right now we have got some really important things that need to be discussed in this town. We're at the lip of a military buildup that is going to bring, at least in the first couple of years, a couple of $1 billion worth of spend in construction to Guam. We've got that. We're in the midst of this crisis. The world is changing around us, and we're busy talking about the Kardashians. So yeah, that's why I come back. Thanks.
Yeah, we could really screw this up. And I think there's a lot of really smart people though on this island, and they're getting a chance, I think, to reveal themselves on your show. And I think we appreciate the even-handedness that you lend to this. Obviously, you know everybody knows you. And so sometimes it might be tough to separate things, but I think everybody feels comfortable that with you on the air, there is a balance to this whole very heated debate about a multitude of issues. But if you don't mind, I did call to just be thankful that you're on the air, but there's another thing to say. Is it okay?
Yes. When have I ever said you can't? You know, you and I have agreed and disagreed a million times in the years that I've been on the radio. I don't think you can hurt my feelings.
No, and it's certainly not that. It's just that your soapbox speaks to the ears of a lot of people who I think can help influence the decisions moving forward. Because I am personally troubled, and that's why I'm calling by word from our good friend Bob Klitsky that not only is the hospital being used as a political football and potentially going to be forced into doing things that, you know, compromise the safety of the people that rely on that hospital and jeopardize, you know, just the integrity of the doctors and nurses who have to work there. So there's a layer upon layer of things that we're concerned about. But the Department of Education Superintendent John Fernandez apparently is talking about suspending a current Guam law that provides for an adequate education. And, you know, the thing is that, you know, Bob Klitsky wrote that law, so you really shouldn't be trying to undo laws that Bob Klitsky wrote while he's still alive.
Yeah.
Because he is very mad about it, I think. And he has, you know, plenty of firepower behind his voice to say so. But what we're worried about is that there's just slowly dismantling of some of the things that have made Guam, I think, a powerful place and an attractive place and a safe place to be. I mean, if you're going to strip away education, if you're going to devalue healthcare when we just achieved national accreditation and that meant that the hospital met the American standard, then, you know, what is your priority? I mean, what's more important than providing for healthcare, education, and public safety? And I know we disagreed maybe before, but I think you're wrong, Ray. I don't think government employee payroll is more important than education, public safety, and
No. Wait a second. When did I say it was important? I was the first guy. No. Weeks ago, I was the first guy that said, if you know, the first thing that we've got to do is start talking about 32-hour work weeks and furlough Fridays. And boy, the chorus of voices against that on my emails, et cetera. But I haven't changed. That's where the majority of the savings are going to come. And I said weeks ago that we need to start working on that.
Well, so but that I guess is where we can.
And so my point this morning was it's the biggest chunk. I don't know that we can nickel and dime our way to save $67 million this year. We've got to deal with personnel. And somebody has asked me, and I don't see any reason why we can't start the debate on this. There are times we have this conversation and say, well, the Guam Memorial Hospital is exempt. And I disagree with that. I think that the Guam Memorial Hospital should be just as accountable to the taxpayers as other departments and agencies in the government of Guam. And if everybody has to cut, as long as it does not affect or negatively impact patient care, if there are classified employees there or unclassified employees that need to be ushered out, usher them out.
Yeah, because at the very same time, apparently, you know, you have a whole industry of construction and service and all these other things that are claiming there's not enough good skilled labor on Guam. So I guess I don't agree with the furlough or 32 work week because it just avoids the actual conversation about laterally transferring people who are currently thinking that the government job they have is actually important when it's not, into jobs that actually service the people of Guam and would give them some pride and ownership of this economic boom that we're supposedly going to have.
Yeah,
if we're going to be importing foreign laborers to do work the people of Guam are unwilling or unable to do, maybe this is the time to kind of re-educate everybody. Because a lot of those folks that we're talking about furloughing and going on 32-hour work week and they're crying and moaning, they're making $65,000 a year. So apparently they're pretty skilled at something.
And again, you know, sometimes I wish there was an easy index to things that I've said. The Gary Hiles and the guys over at what used to be the Department of Commerce, you can find it at Labor, have put together the synopsis on wages and hours and that kind of thing. And if you take a look at just the as I said, the synopsis of it, income for people that work in the government has gone up. Let's call it 6%. Income for everybody else in the island has only gone up 2.5%. You know, I'm ballparking. These are not the actual figures. I don't have them in front of me. But the point that I'm going to make is there's a little bit more elasticity to deal with the coming hard times for a certain chunk of the population. You cannot take these tax increases and think that they're going to be affecting everybody equally because not everybody is doing as well as the average GovGuam employee.
Yeah, and again, not to dominate your morning, because I think, again, there's a lot of smart people out there that are listening, and that's really the purpose of the call is if this weekend, because it's Friday already, and Lord knows there's a lot of senatorial and gubernatorial fundraisers that we're getting invited to. If you do go and you're going to put your money down, I think it is worthwhile to try to get some commitment and then record it so that we can play it on Ray Gibson Show on Monday, that they're actually going to do something meaningful so that we can get on with our lives. This is not the most important thing in the world. Government of Guam employment is not the most important thing in the world. The people of Detroit learned this. The people from Puerto Rico have learned this. When a government goes bankrupt, guess what? We still have to run hospitals. We still have to attend to public safety, and we still need to teach the kids. Governments going bankrupt across America, unfortunately, are not uncommon, and the people in Venezuela apparently are perfect.
Oh, boy.
So we just need, I think, to get a grip on ourselves. We are on the cusp of a great thing, and these are supposed to be good times. The governor proposed $1 billion budget for next year, so the good times are definitely ahead. And I really do believe that your venue, a soapbox to have people discuss issues and maybe resolve and compromise, this is going to be a really good time for Guam, because we are building a better community, don't you think? Things have definitely gotten better, and I feel like
we have concrete huts.
Like yours.
We have concrete huts over in the Paseo. My God, my dreams have come true.
Yeah, but my Paseo Stadium is falling apart, Raymond. This is the irony of it all is we make 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, but we keep getting back up. And I guess I really did have a point to this end of this whole thing, and it really is, could you get the governor on your show and ask him if he's willing, instead of violating the Attorney General's law of the land regarding furloughs, could he just start going down to 9,000 people in the government of Guam and try to get those 3,000 people a job on the base?
There's jobs. There's jobs too. This is why I wanted to go back over the procedure. So I'm going to let you go, and then you can listen but kiss the wife. Kiss the wife, and I know that she's listening. I know that she's watching the feed because I see her every single morning.
She tells me.
I can see her come up. All right, I'll talk to you pretty soon. Dr. Akimoto with me on the. In less crazy times, I would ask him about there was a thing that Take Care put out last week that says go and see him and Dr. Nguyen over at the place. And I've been meaning to talk to him about that. But as I said, we've been busy doing other things. Other items that are coming through on the Facebook from Randy here. What does it say? You know what really torques me off? When I listen to all the government folks and right away when there's a shortfall in revenue collections, they want to raise taxes. Why can't they look at cutting expenses? I'm with you, Randy, and we're trying to push in that direction. I absolutely am. I am absolutely against any tax increases. I am absolutely against any new loans. I think that there are still plenty of places to cut. And your point about school buses in your email, I absolutely am on your side with this. I do not believe, and I have not believed for a long time, that the government of Guam needs to be in the school bus business. If you have children, it is your responsibility to feed them and make sure that they get to school. If you can't do that, don't have kids. Sorry if I'm making it a little bit too plain, but it ain't my job. It doesn't need to come out of my pocket to ensure that they've got a ride to school, for heaven's sakes. And they run these things in summer school for kids that forgot to get decent grades. You know what? All of the money that we spend on school buses, give that after we fix the Guam Regional Transit Authority and get some brain power running that thing. Take all of the money, all of the drivers, all of the equipment, repaint them, and those will become mass transit. And you don't ride mass transit for free either. We get prices that look and feel like mass transit in the States. Mass transit is about, number one, moving people from point A to point B, but it is also about relieving congestion on the roadways, which is going to be welcome by a lot of people. It is not there to replace the cost of owning a car, right? If you take a look at what some of the rates are in other places outside of students and seniors, people pay decent money to ride the bus to get them from point A to point B, because you factor in the driver's time, you factor in the gasoline, the insurance, and the maintenance, all of these things that are currently being ignored right now that we're going to have to factor in. So I'm with you on that. I'm absolutely with you on that. Hold on, 946. Callers, I get to you. I did want to make this point here. Under procedures, Appendix H, Section K, 1C, employees may volunteer to be furloughed. You may now, if you're one of those guys that says, yeah, I know I'm kind of worthless around here. You can go to the boss and volunteer. Employees under furlough are not restricted from seeking other employment during the furlough period. Those employees who already have part-time jobs while employed with the government may opt to increase their hours of work up to a full-time basis during the furlough period. So what do you know how to do? Do you know how to? Pacific Rim Construction, not currently advertisers on the program, but they did have an interesting advertisement in the paper. Drywall installers, carpenters, electricians, iron workers, laborers, operators. I don't know what you're operating. I know how to operate a phone. How's that? Plumbers, sheet metal guys, truck drivers, equipment mechanics, painters, pipe fitters. This is everything. So you have got, trust me, and they're not, in a lot of cases, they don't care if you've never done it before. We need bodies. Look, if anything, I'll get you better than minimum wage to stand on the road with a flag. We need the bodies because the guy that's on the road now with the flag knows how to work with drywall. So let me get him off the road. I'll put you down there. That's going to be your job. And then watch him so that you know how to do it. It's going to be that big. And that's money in your pocket. These are full-time jobs, and they're not going away anytime soon. Why aren't there more people signing up for them? Well, maybe there's no pressure to sign up, but maybe there's going to be some of that. Really? Fine. 9:47. I'll get to the calls after these. Be right back.
In illness and in wellness, Calvo's Select Care is health care that is there for you. That's why over 80% of the Guam medical community places their trust and insures with us. We offer our members wellness and fitness programs for a healthier lifestyle and provide a comprehensive medical network on and off island to help members from unexpected illnesses. Contact Calvo's Select Care today for more information.
That was a shorter break than I thought it was, and that's cool because I got a couple of important voices on the radio. One, I asked to call back my buddy Mark Cruz on the line. Hey, dude.
Hey, what's up?
So the upcoming good times, and as I said, what do we got here? Operators. Pacific Rim is looking for operators and truck drivers and equipment mechanics and all of that kind of thing. Are you seeing the same thing on your side of the game, where you got guys that are doing a whole lot of business with big trucks and heavy equipments coming in?
Yeah, actually, I just met yesterday with 3 off-island guys from Granite Obayashi, the ones who got the Marine Cantonment project, about truck and equipment needs. So yeah, we're seeing an influx of off-island plus a pickup. You know, even without the H2s, we're still seeing a pickup of some construction.
Well, I'm glad to see that. Well, the good news is that they're oversubscribed now, if you will, on H2 applications at USCIS over the last couple of days. But the acknowledgement that the caps don't exist for federal and military projects in Guam and the CNMI. So I imagine that's going to continue. Do we have the number of guys that we need? I'm glad that you're going to be selling more yellow cabs, but do we have the number of guys needed to be able to operate that equipment?
You know, I think the contractors themselves would be able to answer that a lot better than I would, because they're the ones who know what we have on island and what they're going to have to bring in from off island. Well,
once upon a time, you and I, and I think Eddie probably had the conversation about one of the pinch points that we have, a friction point, is getting guys that have the training but don't necessarily have the license to be able to do that. What are you hearing about the capabilities of dudes to be able to go take a test and get a driving test on some of the equipment that you're selling?
Well, the driving test would apply for the trucks.
Right, not necessarily the heavy equipment?
Not necessarily the heavy equipment. Crane operators need certifications. There are new standards in place that make being a crane operator really hard.
I'm glad.
Important certifications. boom lift certifications, those stuff handled on island by this one company that I won't mention since they don't advertise.
Yeah. Well, send me a note so I can get them on the air. Not necessarily to buy advertising, ka-ching, but definitely to find out, what how are we doing with these things? What I'm afraid of is I don't want us to get to a point where, we have all of this business lined up. We got all these folks coming in and, all of these jobs, but we don't have anybody that can run the equipment required to get the job done.
I think we can hold our own, and the big companies that have the really big inside the fence projects will be able to bring in some of their own operators from off island. So I think we're in a very good position right now.
Yeah.
To do what we need to do.
But I would prefer that if the labor is here, that we take advantage of our guys. The idea that they might be able to bring in a boatload of citizens from another state, another territory is interesting, but it doesn't necessarily throw all of that into our own economy and putting it into the hands of our own local laborers. If we can get them convinced that now is a good time to go and do this, maybe better radios in the cab or something like that. Mark, I'm going to run. I'm going to bring in this one last call before I go.
Take care, bro.
I will. I appreciate it. The old friend of mine, Mark Cruz, in there, another old friend and a frequent caller. And I was trying to go down in that conversation with Mark Jack. I hope you heard it. There's jobs to be had. And there might not be a whole lot of full-time permanent opportunities in the government of Guam. But if you've got certain skills, guess what? Go ahead and take the furlough and get a part-time weekend gig working with some of these companies driving the heavy equipment around.
Yeah, Ray, I lived in California for 10 years, and the job that I had, although it was good paying, it wasn't good enough to suit my lifestyle. So I had to do something called piecework on the weekends, where I went out and I finished up houses that were done during the week by union workers, and I would go out and finish roofing for track homes. And me and three of my buddies did that, and we used that money, to go to Big Bear, supplement our weekend trips. And so, it's the opportunities are there, and the need is there, and so take advantage. But I just wanted to call in and say, in the spirit of Lent, I'm a devout Catholic, and to see things such as resurrected bills, and in the spirit of the season, it makes your heart flutter. But then you have the voice of reason, like Dr. Vince, that comes around and says, you know what? Some of you all need to get off your crosses because we need the wood. And that's the voice of reason right there.
God bless you.
And then that's the voice of reason because, yes, the hospital does need it. The government does need it. But, some people are just, you have a what do you call it? You have a hangnail. You don't belong in our triage. So, why don't you wait outside? Get out of my. So it's nice.
Get off your. Hold on. Could you write that down? Wait a second. I know he's listening. Romeo, put this in the blog. Romeo, that needs to go in the blog. Get off your cross. We need the wood.
But listen. Well, it is construction. We're trying to build a better future for both figurative and realistically. We're trying to build a better future, and every one of your callers previous to me, they're all correct in some aspects, and some are wrong. And what Bob Kuski and I had this discussion about part-time legislature, full-time legislator. And I tried to explain to him a bad decision is a bad decision. It doesn't matter whether you did it in one day or it took you 5 months to do it. It's still a bad decision. And so what it is that when our founding fathers spoke about small government or limited government, it was the scope of government and our lives. And that's the main point. And as far as
but that's a big point, and you know I think at the center, Jack, of some big conversations that we need to have here. I believe that the federal government is overarching and overreaching into the lives of everyday citizens. And sometimes I think the government, our own local government, is going a little bit too far. I'm one of those guys. Just take it back to the basics. Do we have policemen out there? Do we have fire guys out there? Do we have doctors and nurses in our hospital and teachers in the classroom? Everything else is redundant to that.
Yeah, and you know it's lost because you know the wants become needs and it gets clouded sometimes. But I just want I'm on my way home. I just got off work. And you know, I had an uncomfortable rest or sleep session or snooze session before I went to work last night, and I pictured myself to make ends meet selling feminine products at the flea market because it was a horrible dream. But as far as Simon said about visible GRT, there's this fictitious place, let's call it Guam, and a fictitious company, let's call it Macy's, that what they did when the visible GRT came into place, what they did was they tacked on the extra tax on top of the regular tax. And only people that shop there know to say, hey, man, you know, this is wrong.
I remember that.
Yeah, and so it took kind of take them to court. Well, not us, but the concerned consumer took them to court, and you know we got those rebates checks a few years later. But the problem is that government of Guam didn't get anything out of that fiasco.
Well, so there's an important point to bring up, kids, is save your receipts now, and when these increases go back, and probably going to be at least a percentage. I don't think we're going to be able to get out from under that one. And at that point, I have to agree with Kevin. But keep an eye on it, and because it's supposed to only be a small increase, a 25% increase in the GRT, as opposed to the 4%, and now adding a whole additional 5% on top of that.
Yeah, so let me make a quick pitch about the VAT system, because when the VAT proposal was first thrown out, it was proposed by a group of concerned academic and institutional people in the tax realm that had no bias at all on how Guam was supposed to make its way out of these tax problems. It wasn't until the later commissions that you had like the Guam Chamber of Commerce and other people with vested interest in how they did their business come in and started pushing this sales tax option. But the reason why I support a VAT tax is because what are we trying to do here in Guam is try to make the tax more fair, number one. And number two, you want to attract businesses. And if you look at
I've got 60 seconds left, and so let me make this offer for you. Monday morning, we'll get in as early as I can. The second I see you on the line, I'll go to you because I do want to have the VAT tax conversation. It's too big of a bite to take in 40 seconds.
You have a great weekend then.
I will, and maybe I'll see you over at the flea market. I'll be the guy looking for Cancun. That's a joke. If you're tomorrow, you'll get it. Hey, I got to go. I've got a weekend in front of me. A reminder, kids, that there is going to be a couple of big races, the Rainbows for All Children, over the weekend. And sign up for that today because it's $10 today. It'll be $15 tomorrow if you wait until the very end. And the other point that I want to make is that there's going to be a whole lot of runners running southbound in the middle of the night from Anderson Air Force Base down to Big Navy. And do me a favor, if you're going to be on the road, keep an extra eye skinned for them out there. Everybody will have a blinker or some kind of fluorescent clothes. Not everybody. I might run just showing my white skin. We're KUSG, Hagutnya.
White House. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump announcing new tariffs on steel and aluminum.
It wasn't even on his public schedule today, and the White House insisted an announcement wasn't coming until next week.